Hey there, comic book friends. I'm Travis. It's time for another edition of Comic Book Roundtable. And with me, I have our esteemed guest today. I have Stacy Poulos with us. Hey, Stacy.
Hey!
And Sergeant America. Mike, how's it going?
Feeling steamy.
Feeling steamy. Right on. And Comics.Comics. How's it going, sir?
I still don't have a catchphrase, but I'm here. All right.
We'll steal Matt's for the day. Hello, Internet.
I'll shalom halam.
There you go.
I did it in Hebrew. There we go.
Oh,
All right.
nice. So we've got I think we have lots to talk about. I actually had 25 books this week, which is nuts. I guarantee you I won't talk about all 25, but we'll talk some books. Plus the fact the big two threw out lots of fun stuff for us to probably talk about also. So we'll jump into some of that and whatever else comes along the way. We're gonna start out with DC just because I have a feeling that might end up being a long conversation because of all the announcements that they put out. Look forward to getting your guys' take on the books themselves and the new mission statement, because they kind of put out a new mission statement along with this announcement of these books. So kind of curious as to what everybody thinks of that. So we'll start right out with DC. What are people reading DC-wise this week? Go, Detective Comics. You picking up
Yes.
Detective Comics?
Yeah. You talked me into it, believe it or not, but yes.
Well, I did. Oh no.
Yes. I was on the verge of dropping it, and you're like, I always pick up Detective. I'm like,
Yeah.
why? All right.
Yeah.
I just wanted to touch on this page right here. Is this showing up?
Yeah.
All right. When reading it, I was realizing he's talking about anarchy, and you could apply all these things to Batman himself. I don't know if you were picking up on that when
Yeah.
I was wondering if that's going to tap into anything later. I will say that the art is growing on me on this a bit. I was kind of apprehensive at first about it, but it's starting to kind of work, and I am liking how that Gordon's kind of out of the picture, that they're focusing on Harvey a bit more, and I'm learning more about him and liking him a little bit more. He's a little more dimensional.
Yeah. Yeah. I've always kind of liked Harvey Bullock's character anyway. I mean, just his kind of presence. I mean, he's kind of the counterbalance to Gordon. Gordon seems to be generally over the top. Batman's great, and Harvey's always that Batman guy. So it's nice to have that and to get a little more of Harvey. We know he's a cat. He's a cat guy, right?
So I'm cool.
A couple issues ago, we found out he's a cat guy, so that's kind of funny. You talk about the art. I think the art's working better. I think largely because, for me anyway, they don't do as much fight scenes.
Mm-hmm.
The fight scenes are much more subtle and blurred and whatnot. Because when I first started reading this, because I don't have a wide breadth of Francis Manapul's art under my belt. I didn't read Flash and all that stuff. To me, his combat is really clunky feeling.
Yeah.
And so the less of that there is, the better. I mean, because he does beautiful work otherwise. The rest of his paneling and that kind of stuff, I think, is great. So I think that's why I'm enjoying it more, because there's less combat in it.
Well, I think, you kind of hit the nail on the head with this thing right here. I mean, that's kind of all done in a quick little succession of things, and I don't even know what happened. Someone got beat up, but I can't tell you.
Right. It's mostly just a picture of Batman there posing, looking menacing, and then there's these little panels of people getting thumped on through it, so you assume that's Batman rolling everybody.
Yeah.
Interesting thing in it that the Mad Hatter's in it. I've always kind of liked the Mad Hatter. He's really crazy in this, isn't he? I mean, so we just saw him. If you're reading Batman Eternal, a couple issues ago, he was in Batman Eternal. Seemed relatively, I mean, other than calling himself the Mad Hatter and having these, hats that control people, seems like a relatively sane person,
Yeah.
And of course, this version of the Mad Hatter, he's nutty. I mean, he fits the Alice in Wonderland description. I mean, he's dancing with a pillow and having a love affair with this pillow that's got Alice's face painted on it. And obviously, he did something in his past. He has some history that has some people out to do him in now. It sounds like, right?
Well, yeah, and I was wondering what the the porcelain. I thought of them as porcelain, but the masks.
Right.
Did you get any connection to that? Does this manifestation of Alice have that kind of porcelain face, or is that just him so out there that
that's him so out there? I think because you also have this other plotline going on. You got Anarchy. He's wiped the records, everybody's records clean. Has mailed a basically white blank hockey mask to everybody and says, hey, you could be whoever you want to be. So Gotham has gone just completely crazy. Everybody's put on a mask and is just going to town, causing anarchy, right? I don't understand how the two stories coincide, other than suddenly Anarchy is there with a group of people who obviously were abused, and they are going to take it out on the Mad Hatter. Whoever he was before the Mad Hatter, they're going to take it out on him.
I think Anarchy has something to do with that orphanage.
So we're gonna imply that Anarchy is the way he is because he got treated poorly by the Mad Hatter.
Yeah, well, had something to do with it, or maybe I've always thought of Anarchy as having empathy, but having the wrong ends with his means of that empathy. And I think maybe he's a part of it, or maybe he just knows the story and wants to get revenge on him. I think it could go either way.
Okay. I hope they explain that better, because right now to me it feels very coincidental that Gia just happens to be a guy who wants to cause total chaos in Gotham. Also happens to be dragging the Mad Hatter out of prison to basically let a bunch of people baseball bat him to death is what it looks like is going to happen. So,
but okay, a criticism I have is one thing I was liking about Detective is it was kind of small scale and in its own way, and it felt like Eternal and Batman, everything like that. The whole city was falling apart, and I think what I liked about Detective is it was like, okay, people might live in this Gotham City because it's not like the city's falling apart any minute, but it's like every interpretation right now of Gotham, the city's falling apart every other day. Why would you live there? Why would you work there? I mean, I liked the smaller scope of Detective for a little while there.
Right. Right, because it's taking the same line that all the other Bat books are, and that Gotham's on its last gas, and it's the entire. It's not like something's just threatening the entire city. The entire city is going insane.
Yeah.
Because clearly that's what's in Endgame, right? Because in Endgame you've got all the people juiced up on Joker stuff, going bonkers all over the place. Here they're all wearing masks. Maybe they're being controlled to some degree to be extra chaotic.
Mad Hatter tech. I think they even hinted that.
Kind of imply that. So, I don't know.
With this Mad Hatter, this is still Jervis Tesh, is that right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And they go to this orphanage type place, and they find that there's some pictures there, old pictures of the orphanage, and he's standing in one of the corners as like the lawn guy or something. I mean, he's like standing with a rake or something, and of course he's got a creepy, leering look on his face. Why everybody else looks normal. Why everybody else looks normal, he's there looking creepy, kind of thing. And of course they, so deftly connect the dots, kind of a thing. There are some parts that are pretty heavy-handed.
Yeah.
It's okay though. It's not Rockstar comic, but I've been enjoying it.
Yeah. Anyone else with DC?
Anybody Swamp Thing? Do you Swamp Thing? You still read Swamp Thing?
Just the two of us.
Yeah.
All right.
Just gonna be us talking tonight.
Yes. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's been a while. I haven't been on in a while. I'm liking this, but it's still, I'm kind of remorseful because I know this is coming to an end here soon.
Right.
And all of that, and so
the bitter taste, the fan bitter taste is already starting to get in our mouths about the fact we know at what issue. Yeah. 41, 2, something like that. It's done. So, it's going to get all cleaned up somewhere along the way, right? That Charles Soule has gotten it written to some sort of a conclusion.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's kind of pulling me out of it a little bit, to be honest. I like the Abigail and him. Abigail? That's not her name, is it? What's her name? Oh, that's her name. Okay. But I like that they're kind of reuniting their relationship, even though they know they can't be together. I like that aspect of it. You wonder if somehow they're going to end up together at the end of this, like somehow through some kind of machination, they'll be able to, on some level, to have their relationship that they've struggled with since the beginning of the series.
Yeah.
That's small compared to everything else.
I love Lady Weeds. I mean, and I love her in this.
Mhm.
that she kind of, Lady Weeds has now become the avatar of the machines, and she's taking control. The machines get pissed at her because she's not doing what they want her to do, and they go, well, we're going to get rid of you. And she's like, yeah, uh-huh. And so she hoses them all. I think that's just awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, she is such a scary person. She is the scariest person that Charles Soule has created for this book, because she wants it all. She wants the power. She has no problem with being evil. And I mean, she's evil on a, not a simple supervillain evil. I mean, she likes to tear small animals apart. I mean, she's bad. I mean, completely down to the very depths of her. And so she wipes out the machines. I mean, she's it now. I mean, she even takes them a lot. I don't know. I'm still really enjoying it. I think it's pretty cool. We'll see how it ends. I mean, I don't think they're gonna like completely get rid of Swamp Thing. He'll still be around, right?
Yeah, they'll do what they did with Resurrection Man.
Yeah.
Wait, he's not still around.
No, he's not still around.
Frankenstein.
And Frankenstein. And hopefully they'll give him a better ending than that. What's that?
I'd like the idea of Frankenstein. So.
Yeah.
Why did you buy the comic when it was coming out?
That's one right.
did. Anyway.
I'm a trade guy, you know that.
Yeah.
Well, I have a few more DC. Does anyone else want to go?
Grayson? They didn't read any DC, clearly. Clearly Stacy didn't read DC, and neither did Mike, so.
Okay.
They made the announcement, I dragged all my comics out in the yard, and I burned them.
You burned them
that.
all.
Now that would have been a video. You should have filmed that.
The video is coming. It's editing.
Yeah. It's rendering right now. Yeah.
Rendering,
You got some heavy metal playing over it. Yes, I gotcha.
Yeah. So I read Grayson. I'm still really enjoying this book. I'm enjoying it quite a bit. Different artists on this issue. I like the Kane people. That was kind of odd. It seemed really. The one part that this threw me off was the last issue, if I remember correctly. Midnighter had snatched and basically kidnapped Dick Grayson and his cute butt, and they were up in space. They ended with Dick Grayson. He's like on this ship and he's like looking out the window and he's stuck up in outer space. Like, what the hell am I gonna do? And then suddenly he's casually having this conversation with the gardener, and like it seems like it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
And then he gets shipped back down. He gets teleported back down to Earth to deal with what's down there. The biggest thing about this book is clearly to me this sets up the Midnighter book that we'll talk about in a little bit here. That's going to be coming in June, right? Because at the end of this, the Midnighter's realizes that the people he's been working for are just as two-faced as all the spies he hates. Because Midnighter hates spies. He hates these kind of two-faced, sneaky people. And he finds out the person he's working for is willing to let hundreds of thousands of people die just to make a statement, and he's not okay with that.
I liked the old school DC feel of this issue. Like the villain and everything felt like a time gone by in DC.
Yeah.
The rock and roll and all that.
Right.
I love that aspect. I like this substitute artist too. I was surprised it wasn't obviously as good, but it felt like you could read this and it'd be seamless in trade. Mm-hmm. I wonder. I think one thing that I don't know if you like this about it, but Batman sometimes appears in it, but it's so distant from that. What's going on in that it feels like its own book.
Well, it's like the Batman parts. The Batman parts are just like a narrative. It's basically to fill in a little pieces that it's like a storytelling device. Mm-hmm. There'll be a moment of him secretly calling Batman to fill in that extra little piece of narrative that they didn't have time to put in actual pages of comic, kind of a thing.
Yeah. And so, I mean, his presence isn't really there as strongly as I thought it was going to be, actually. And I think that's why this book has been far superior to Nightwing.
Oh. Well, that and he's not getting his ass kicked all the time. Come on, in Nightwing he got his ass kicked all the time.
He was DC Spider-Man. Come on. That's awesome.
Jeez. I guess. Wow.
All right. That's a discussion for another day.
Okay, good.
Should I go again, I guess?
Go ahead. What else did you get?
All right. Well, not many people. I know of one other person that's reading World's End, and yes, I am still reading World's End. I'm enjoying Green Lantern in this, and that's something to say. Enjoying Green Lantern at all, but Am I lying here?
No, not at all.
I don't like that. So you read the last arc with Superman coming back and just destroying everything. So they're saying there's similar mechanics in these Furies, and yet that gets wiped out, and somehow Superman couldn't overcome it. That seemed a little fishy to me. Helena Wayne is human again for the time being. I don't think that's going to last. And overall, I know what's going to happen now that they've announced Another Earth 2, so I'm kind of happy. I can enjoy this a little bit more. This, again, is just a backup story. So,
Right.
be happy you dropped it.
The Earth 2 stuff has just become gutted by the weekly book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to wrap up my DC pull, Future's End, still solid, still loving it. I don't know if I'd recommend picking it up in trade, but I've enjoyed the ride.
I'm gonna get it in trade.
Mm-hmm.
I'm waiting for a good deal, and I'm gonna pick it up in trade.
Yeah, get it on the cheap for sure, but you'll enjoy the ride. Know that it's all going to get erased, at least that's my theory, but enjoy the ride.
Well, okay, erased. Okay, like it never really happened, basically, right? Because it's all set near future. I did read, of course, Batman Eternal. Still on that. Last issue was really awesome. This issue was okay. I'm struggling to remember exactly what I read amongst the 25 books. There you go. I read 25 books this week, so this is one of the first ones I read. So I'm now trying to think. It's starting to put some pieces together. They tease once again. We know who it is that supposedly Spoiler saw. There's a little bit of that in here again. I want them to do something with it now. I don't want to say what it is because I want to wreck it for anybody who isn't caught up.
Well, you told me about it on Twitter. Do you think it's a red herring?
Well, I mean, it could be. So somebody that looks like who she thinks she saw. The problem. I mean, it could be. The problem is we're not getting a reaction from the other side, and I don't know if that's because if Harper Row Bluebird hasn't told anybody, she's been keeping it a secret because. Spoiler kind of told her to her in confidence, like you can't really tell anybody, but it's this.
Yeah.
So now Spoiler's trying to run away and hide because she doesn't want to be staying with the Bat family because the Bat family obviously is bogus because they're potentially with this other person. So I don't know. I
don't like that.
It feels to me like now they're dangling it all. Everything is just dangling and they're treading water. Waiting to get closer to the last couple books, and then it's all going to be, slam bam, thank you, ma'am, in like 3 issues. That's what I think is going to happen.
I was worried about dropping that because Stephanie Brown was going to be a big character. She's one of my favorite DC characters, and I feel like they've characterized her, to keep using that word, improperly.
Yeah.
And I'm not.
Quite honestly, she's only been in like 5 solid issues of the entire thing, and this was issue 44. So for it to be all about the new and young heroes, that was part of the sales pitch of Batman Eternal. I would say at this point it's kind of a colossal failure as far as that goes. But
all right.
Yeah. So any other DC books? Want to talk about? No. Let's talk about the news. Let's talk about the DC news. So what was it? Wednesday? Thursday? Can't remember which day it was. DC announces that they're having they announced a bunch of books that are going to come out after the Convergence thing is over with come June, because there's all these books that are getting canceled that we know about that are being shut down, and they announced a bunch more that are going to be canceled. And coming out the other side of Convergence, they're going to do a divergence of what they have been doing, and that they are going to have 24 new books come out the other side of that. So in June, we got 24 new titles that are going to land. The part that interests me most about it initially is, and I'm going to find my little thing so I can read the quote. Dan Didio is quoted as saying, let's see here, "This heralds in a new era for DC Universe, which allows us to publish something for everyone, to be more expansive and modern in our approach to and tell stories that better reflect the society around us." Whether you've been a DC fan your whole life or whether you're new to comics, there will be a book beginning in June for you. And let's see here. There's another. The one thing I really wanted to talk about was, in this new era of storytelling, story will trump continuity as we continue to empower creators to tell the best stories in the industry. So, does that mean that Travis is getting his wish that I've been talking about since, I don't know, for a long time? What the new 52 needs to do is they need to let their creators create and let them tell the stories they want to tell and give them the breathing room to tell it. Is that what's going to happen?
I'll believe it when I see it.
When you read it, right? Yeah. I'm trying not to be too hopeful, but that sounds good, doesn't it?
Maybe Batwoman will somehow be like, you know what, I made a big mistake there. Let's go get married anyway.
What Batwoman? There's no Batwoman title.
I know. But
we'll read over the titles here in a second. But so Mike, clearly you put out a video kind of talking about that to some degree, the day of the announcement. Do you have any further opinions or thoughts on it?
I do like that there's going to be a change, that story does allow anything to happen. I'm just worried about the abuse of that. Like I said, shock value or something so out of continuity, like they've mentioned with you've mentioned with Batgirl. Mm-hmm. I sometimes feel that if there's not the continuity, you start to lose the character. Mm-hmm. That somebody decides, like we've seen in the movies, guns on Batman's vehicles.
Right.
And I'm just worried that somebody does something horrible for shock value. We do have editors, and I understand that. But if they're looking for the dollar, does Batman shoot a gun and kill Joker? It's the worst possible idea.
Right. I see what you're saying. I think there's some cardinal rules that won't ever get broken along those lines. I mean, they say this, but they're clearly not going to do anything that editorial and corporate thinks is going to hurt the franchise. Batman's a franchise of and to itself. And I know you're using that as an example because it's the biggest thing you can talk about. I don't think they're ever going to let anything damage that product.
Right. The icons may be protected, but I worry about the fringe people because we've seen Jonah Hex travel through time, and
That's
some of the other.
Before.
All right, and some of the other books that I just, I just worry that too many fringe characters will get too played with.
I guess it depends on what we count as continuity, right?
Yeah.
I can see two versions of, like in the case of Batgirl, because it's fun to talk about Batgirl because I get Stacey excited. With Batgirl, is her personality change? Is that altering continuity, or is that just her, being mentally ill now?
What? I dropped the book, I'll admit. But what the hell's going on here?
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm taking it to an extreme. I take it to an extreme. But no, she's clearly different. She's clearly a different personality than she was, 6 months ago. Right? We all, just for the amount of us that have all read at least that first issue, she's clearly got a different personality than she had 6 months ago. Do we consider that continuity, that she's changed in continuity because of that? I mean, I guess I want a definition of continuity. To me, continuity is this bigger machine of lore that's there. I think writing Batgirl, writing Barbara Gordon with kind of a different personality doesn't seem to be flying in the face of continuity. If we suddenly, for no explained reason, she was never in a wheelchair, she was never any of this other stuff, with this new version of the book, if that never got touched, or if somebody said, if that would be a change in continuity. That would be flying, to me, that's flying in the face of continuity.
But isn't that what's happening right now with Batgirl? They've kind of like they've forgotten, because Gail was writing it where she would go into a hospital and she would have PTSD, because of not only her reconstructive surgery that made her become Batgirl again, but because of the events that happened in The Killing Joke. So if these new people, because they're starting off of Gail's run, aren't addressing that, would you consider that what you're talking about?
Well, or did, at the end of Gail's run and the start of this new run, she goes, okay, I'm changing my life. I've had an epiphany. I am changing my life. I am going to move from Gotham proper to the burbs.
Mhm.
I'm gonna go back to school. I'm doing an exerted effort to live a happy life as opposed to living the, during Gail's run, incredibly rough life that I was living and kind of wallowing in that depression. So I can see someone saying that she's making a more concerted effort to not be so entrenched in Batgirl that she's having a life beyond that, and that's what she's doing now.
I think I would agree with you, but I think because the art has changed so much and she herself looks very drastically different. Like I've said this before, like, she went from looking like, a young woman like my age to now she looks like a tween. So I think maybe I would be more accepting of it a little bit if the art kind of stayed the same, because those Batgirl covers and the art in Batgirl was for the most part just so awesome.
Yeah.
So I think changing not only the direction of the character but also the art, that for me kind of then makes it go, okay, like none of this is the same as Gail's run. So I kind of, you have to see it as like an entirely different thing.
So you're saying that this current incarnation is basically flying in the face of the continuity that came before it. I don't know that it. For me, it doesn't necessarily.
Yeah, I understand like your point of view on it, where it's like she doesn't want like dark, because that's essentially what the characters said. They're like, we don't want Barbara Gordon to be in this dark place anymore and whatever. But like I said, when I was on last time, the whole reason why I love Batgirl is because I feel like she mirrors Batman. And I love the fact that Gail and Scott, I can read, my Batman trade and then my Batgirl trade, and they definitely coincide with each other. Now, I read Batman and it's like a super dark, awesome story, and then you pick up Batgirl and it's it's a little bit like reading Archie in a way. So for me, and I guess maybe this is just me as a female as well, I want my female characters written, just as hardcore as the guys. Because that's kind of the stories that I appreciate, and I think the fact that Batgirl had such a giant male fan base when Gail was writing it, and now I don't know if I know a lot of people dropped it, but it would be interesting to see what the demographic is for that title now that it's totally changed.
Do you feel that they should be acknowledging the continuity a little bit more, even in this kind of new paradigm that they have with Batgirl?
Well, I think they are to some degree, because I can't remember if it was the last issue before that, she's in an art gallery and somebody is, of course, kind of mocking and using Batgirl's image and name for what they want to do. And one of the pictures is Batgirl slumped in a wheelchair. So they are playing with that. They are still using some of that stuff in it. But clearly it's not being delivered. It's not being delivered the way it was being delivered before. It is a much brighter book, artistically, verbally, image-wise. The whole thing is a much brighter than what it was before. And I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan of the current Batgirl. I'm reading it and buying it out of morbid curiosity more than anything else, just to see what they are doing with it.
And I said this to somebody the other day, but I'm like, okay, because they were like, I don't understand why you're so mad. And I'm like, okay, what if they did that to Batman?
Right.
Oh, wow.
And that person shut up. And I was like, that's my whole thing.
Yeah. If they took Batman and got rid of it and the replacement was Batman 66.
I'd still like it. All right.
Well, I wouldn't. I'd be pissed as hell.
Yeah, and so then when I said that, then the person was like, "Oh, I kind of understand it. Why you're kind of mad." But again, I just that little girl that wrote to DC Comics and was asking about why there aren't so many female-driven books. I mean, what are the female-driven books in DC right now? I think it's just
there's going to be a bunch more.
What?
There's going to be a bunch more.
Oh, are there?
Yeah.
Well, now that you said that, I might.
Well,
no, you won't.
Before you go on to the new books, the one thing is obviously I am very DC weak. As we saw that I had no DCs today, that, going into it, I did have trouble because I did read some previously before the 52, and I had trouble figuring out, because I was not picking up a lot of 52, how much of that history did carry over. Even though they started new number ones and they changed up the characters a little bit, they still referenced incidents happening. So I had difficulty with that, and I'm having difficulty now figuring out, as they feed into another change, how much of this are we supposed to feel that we already know.
Except this change isn't the same kind of change. It's not like a 52 change. It's not like Flashpoint happened and a universe seemed to have come to a screeching halt, and we got dropped into a totally new universe where we don't know what the playing field is. This is simply them saying that now, if somebody comes up with an idea and it sounds awesome, they're going to go with it. Is what it sounds to me like I'm hearing, as opposed to saying, no, Batman can't spend 3 months in Japan because he has to be in Gotham. If somebody can go, I got this bitchin' story about Batman in Japan, they might do it now. Batman's maybe a poor example, but that's what I'm hearing, and I'm hoping that it is. It's not, they're not flushing the toilet and everything's going away and they're putting up something new. They're not saying that they're burning anything down. I think what they're saying is that they're not going to let what seems to have been the last 3 years a very strict, this is our world. It's gonna loosen up a little bit now. So I'm hoping that means fun comics. I'm hoping that means we get some fun comics along with the comics that are punching people in the face that we like too. Because I think we all kind of want, at least I do as a reader, I want a mix. I don't want it all to be in a dark cave somewhere. Yeah. And I think that's what we're gonna get. But I certainly understand, with my longevity of reading comics, I certainly understand the concern of, are they gonna Batgirlize all the books now? Are they all gonna become these much brighter things? I don't think that's gonna be the case either. I think that in the case of Batgirl, those of us who like the old Batgirl is an unfortunate victim of maybe a new style of comic that I think needs to be there. It just would have made all of us old fans happier if they would have done it some other way. Even if they had made 2 Batgirl books.
Yeah.
Kept our dark one and then had a kind of its own kind of a thing.
Exactly.
Because let's use Harley Quinn as an example. The Harley Quinn that's in Suicide Squad, which has been a while since I read Suicide Squad, but every time I read it, she's scary. Crush people's skulls, honest to God, scary. Whereas in her own title, she's kind of cute and goofy. She's still deadly, but she's cute and goofy in her title. Those can't really actually be the same character, right? I don't see how you're really pushing it to try and make those the same thing. Right. So yeah, I think that's going to be that kind of opening up too, where not maybe like you were saying in your video, Mike, maybe not everything now. If there's an event, it's not going to tie everything in because this stuff's kind of on the loose on the fringes. You don't think so?
Well, no, that's the one thing I do wonder, because we did see people were not touched, like Lemire in Green Arrow and Wonder Woman. Those are some wonderful runs that were not played with, but because they were established people. And I just wonder, do you see less events then?
Nope.
No. There's money in events. The events
no chance in hell.
Money there.
I admire your optimism. I really do.
I'm just being too Pollyanna. That's what you're telling me that I'm.
Yeah.
I love because he just slaps me.
They make money hand over fist with those tie-ins.
Yeah. Right.
Jeff Johns, Dan DiDio are still in charge. I hope you're right, and I will eat that crow gladly. Yeah. But it's not going to happen. I'm sorry. I hope, that'd be great, because I'm looking forward to reading Cyborg. Well, I'm looking forward to reading all these other books.
I can't see them doing an event book and tying Bizarro and Batmite into an event book. I'm just saying.
Stranger Things.
I know. Morrison's not going to be writing the event book, so I don't see those people being tied in. So I'm just saying. But
should we talk about some of these books that are coming out?
Let's talk the books. I'll get the list up here. So
number one that I'm pulling is the Wonder Twins and Gleek. When that one comes out, I got it.
Awesome. That one's not coming out though.
Oh!
Well, I'm sorry. Take that from you. So, so another Batman Beyond book is going to come out. I think they've kind of tossed the Batman Beyond around a few times, and been canceled a couple times, hasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
In some version of it. So they're going to be doing that with Dan Jurgens and Bernard Chang. I think Bernard Chang has been part of that before, but they're doing a Batmite book. Originally, it was listed as being a limited series, but they took the limited series off of it. I don't know. Dan Jurgens is writing a Batmite book. Anybody got an opinion on that?
Have fun, guys.
Are there people out there who don't know who Batmite is? It depends on what version of Batmite they use, I guess.
Yeah, I only read the one where they drove Batman crazy with the Dance Macabre.
All right.
Didn't know. It was in one of my library book ones. It was this group that once again knew who he was, drove him crazy, and he had to use this alternate identity where it's the multicolored Batman outfit.
Oh yeah.
And he had Batmite.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So they're doing a Bizarro book. It's another book that was listed as a limited series, but now it's not listed as a limited series anymore. That might be fun. I think Bizarro's fun. I think they're doing the fun, goofy Bizarro as opposed to the Bizarro that's been in the New 52, the one that's kind of like Frankenstein's monster, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is going to be the kind of goofier one. They're doing a Black Canary book.
Picking that up.
The Black Canary book is written by Brendan Fletcher, with art by Annie Wu. So that means that it is a spin out of the new Batgirl book. I'm going to pick it up because I'm excited by it because I like the idea of Batgirl. I like the idea of Black Canary being the lead singer of a rock band and whatnot. So I'm kind of excited to see what that is.
I'm all over that.
Yeah, Annie Wu. She did some of the stories. She did the art for some of the stories for the Kate Bishop part of Hawkeye, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Mm-hmm.
So excited to see that one. I'll probably will pick that up.
It looks like it when you look at the preview. It looks like Kate Bishop Hawkeye.
Yeah.
I thought in the article, though, they also mentioned that was what they thought the Arrow audience wanted.
Oh, yeah? I didn't see that. I saw people mentioning that, but I never saw where that was at to confirm that or whatever.
Yeah, I think that was on the Newsarama, towards the a little bit below where they said, it's about story.
Oh, okay. I'll have to check that out.
So look at that.
There's the ad they have for it.
I'm all over that. That looks awesome.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited for that. So
it looks like Travis wrote it.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see exactly what that ends up being like. I don't know. Like I said, I dig it. Well, hopefully it ends up being cool. I'm apprehensively nervous about a lot of these books. So
will she have her sonic powers?
I assume she does.
Because I want to see her shatter the windows of like a venue. Like at the end of a show.
That's right.
That'd be awesome.
The grand finale. So another one of the books is Constantine Hellblazer. So they've thrown the Hellblazer moniker onto the Constantine book. I'm a fool. I'm going to try it. It's written by Ming Doyle and James Tynion IV with art by Riley Rosmo. So
what are you doing? All right.
I know. It's the Tynion book. That's the part that worries me. But I'm hoping that Ming has the most to do with it. I like her. I like her art. She's on another book where she's the artist, so that's cool. So I'm hoping that's going to be that the Constantine will get his balls back, is what I'm hoping, from the Hellblazer title to the Constantine title. That it'll move way back towards the Hellblazer version of it. Cyborg, of course, is going to come out. David Walker is writing that. Ivan Riaz on art. So from a diversity standpoint, yay, Cyborg's got his own book, right? I believe that the writer's African American. I could be wrong, but I believe that's the case. Mm-hmm. So that's a positive for people who have the criticism that people of color should be writing people of color and women should be writing women thing. So that's good. Dark Universe. I'm an idiot. I'm gonna try that book too, even though it's written by James Tynion the Fourth also. But
right.
it's got Ming Doyle on art, so it's gonna replace Justice League Dark, and so I know.
Yeah.
I'm an idiot.
No,
I'm an
I
idiot.
can't wait to watch the videos. So
Yeah, I
that's
know.
all I'm
It's
looking
like-
forward to.
As I pull my hair out. Yeah. Green Lantern Lost Army by Cullen Bunn and Jesus Reyes. That almost has me tempted,
Mhm.
even though I am not a Green Lantern fan, just because I like Jesus Reyes' art.
Well, and Bun's pretty solid too.
Doomed, which I'm assuming is a book about Doomsday. Scott Lobdell is writing it.
That's why I'm not touching it. But
Yeah.
my first thought I was like, Doom Patrol? What? You know, like maybe they're calling it something. No. All right.
No. And if it was, I'd cry because Scott Lobdell was writing it if it was
Yeah.
Doom Patrol. Earth 2 Society.
I'm wondering
I have no idea what that's going to be.
if it has something to do with the recent Multiversity story with Dr. Fate.
Oh, if it's that group? Oh,
Yeah.
that would be awesome.
That's why I kind of perked up a little bit when I saw Society in it and all of that, and I was kind of like, wait a minute.
Yeah, if it's that group, I'll end up getting it.
If it's that art and all that, yeah.
Right. Dr. Fate. They put out a Dr. Fate book. I'm excited about that, but Paul Levitz is writing it, and Paul Levitz hasn't been very exciting for quite a few years now, in my opinion. They're doing a Harley Quinn Power Girl series.
That just
So
sounds
clearly-
fun, though.
So clearly everybody loved that team up, so they're going to go on with that.
Yeah.
Justice League of America, all Brian Hitch.
Been there, done that. All right.
Yeah, I don't know. Justice League 3000, which is just a takeoff of 3001, which is just a takeoff of 3000. They're just moving it a year in advance. I don't know why they're doing that, but
Okay.
Martian Manhunter.
Who's
I
on
could
it?
be interested. Rob Williams and Ben Oliver. Ben Oliver's on art, so I'm going to be picking it up. Ben Oliver did the first 9 issues of Batwing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the characters are painted and look really cool. Backgrounds are
Yeah.
pretty sparse. I mean, if you're a stickler for backgrounds, maybe you're not a fan. Midnighter, Steve Orlando is doing the writing on that, and the art is by CAO, capital A, capital C, capital O. I have no idea on the art.
People have to buy initials. Ugh.
Yeah, that might be fun.
Yeah, I'll probably check that one out.
Mystic U, written by Elisa Kitney, I think is how you say the name, and artist. Stay tuned for artist info. So I have no idea what Mystic U is going to be at all.
Harry
Is
Potter,
that- is
maybe
that-
another
Is that the
Gotham
college
Academy?
version of Gotham Academy? I don't know. Omega Man, written by Tom King, with art by Alec Morgan. Prez, that's another one that's pretty strange. Prez, Mark Russell writing it.
That is
and-
an obscure character. That's what I'm fascinated with that.
Well, it's an obscure character that just about every other, what most people consider the great comic book writers, have mined at some point or another.
Yeah.
Gaiman, Morrison, I don't know, there's just tons of them that have played
Yeah.
around with that character to some degree. So, Red Hood and Arsenal, so they've turned Red Hood and the Outlaws into a truly a buddy, a buddy thing. They pulled Starfire off the team. Robin, son of Batman. So Damian's getting his own book.
Well, I know Wednesday Serial's going to be happy. He's been crying about Robin having his own book for a long time, right?
Yep. That's Patrick Gleason, the artist for Batman and Robin, is doing writing and art on that book.
Ooh.
Yeah. Don't know what that's going to be like. Section 8, a Garth Ennis book.
I'm all over that.
Yeah, it's a limited series. It actually still says it's a limited series. Then Starfire is getting her own book. Jimmy Palm Maloney and Amanda Connor are writing it.
I might
So I
check
don't
it out.
know. I'm worried I hope they don't have Starfire, that they give Starfire the same treatment that they've given Harley Quinn. What
That's
do you guys
what
think?
kind of. Yeah, I could see that. I think Starfire actually needs to be a little bit more of a serious character than she has been treated. I mean, she's been somewhat serious in Outlaws, but she was always kind of a badass back in the day. Like, you didn't mess with her, and I always felt like she kind of got weakened in the New 52 a little bit. Some people will disagree with me, but
Yeah, I think she has too. But I guess the thing, Starfire is an interesting character to me because you've got all of these littler girls who want to read Starfire because, of course, they watch Teen Titans Go and and that sort of stuff. And she's a fun character in that. And then the parents are like, "Egads, I can't give my daughter a
yeah,
a Starfire book because she's well proportioned and not wearing anything." So
she's xenoscoped.
So what do they do with her? Do they? I mean, because in the comics she is, other than being beautiful and not wearing much clothing, she's a pretty serious character. I mean, she has a extremely traumatic past.
Mm-hmm.
She was a slave. She was a sex slave. I mean, she, all this horrible stuff has happened to her. Versus, like I said, the little girl version. So I think DC is between a rock and a hard place with that character. I think if they move her way towards the little girl version, then isn't she then insulting to the rest of us who know her as Starfire and have known her for years and years as being basically a relatively serious person?
I thought they had a sample cover of her comic.
Well, Connor did the cover, so it's got Amanda Connor's style to it, which gives it kind of a I don't know. I can show you what it looks like. Let's see here. I can find it. It's a much brighter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see here. There we go. So yeah. I mean, she's wearing her clothing.
There we go. Maybe.
Is it working?
There we go. It's Psylocke. Oh no.
Yeah. So I mean, she's all kind of carefree in her hot pants, and I don't know.
It could be.
I don't know.
It could be. That's one of those intangibles. I'm gonna check out the first issue for sure.
Yeah. And then finally, we are Robin.
Dun 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 dun.
Wait, it's called We Are Robin?
We are Robin.
Like We Are Groot?
I guess if you're a Marvel fan, yeah.
Rip off.
It is basically. It sounds like that book is actually going to be a spin out from Detective Comics Endgame. Because
Really?
in Detective Comics Endgame, there's a group of young adults and kids that kind of get together and decide they're going to help. They're going to help Batman, and so they kind of envision themselves as being Robins. That's not official, but I'm getting the sense that that's where it's coming from. So if you really want the beginning of this whole thing, maybe that's a book to pick up. Not saying for sure, but that might be a book to.
Well,
to
I was
pick up.
seeing on.
There's the art for it. I thought the art looked kind of cool. That's the cover art anyway. I don't think that's what the inside's going to look like. But
It's Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Yeah.
yeah, that's what it is.
But
yeah, so
what it is.
yeah.
Archie.
Okay.
Weren't you saying on Twitter, or you were having a conversation on Twitter about them not doing Batman and Robin anymore?
Yeah, well, Batman and Robin isn't there. You go down and you look at the list of titles that are going to continue, and there is no Batman and Robin. Now, I just got told on Twitter right as the show was starting, somebody said, hey, Gleason tweeted something on his Twitter account. Not Gleason. Tomasi tweeted something on his Twitter account saying that they have this big meeting going on in Burbank right now. There'll be news after that. Does that mean they're saving Batman and Robin, which for some of us is like our most beloved comic? That's the one downside for this whole thing for me is if that's gone, I'm going to be really bummed because there's no place that is going to have that Damian and Bruce Wayne relationship, that father and son relationship, which is what
That
for me
we
makes
just got back.
which was what makes that book. So that's unfortunate if that's if that's the case, if that's what that transpires. I don't know, but Tomasi's only on one book that I can see going into June. So maybe there is another book out there. This makes 49 titles as opposed to 52. I don't know that 52 matters anymore though, because they've dropped the new 52 part off of their covers starting in June also. So they're not considering themselves the new 52 anymore. So I don't know. I'm going in hopeful as opposed to cynical. I'm going to attempt the glass half full.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of wisely going, it's all going to suck, and then being pleasantly surprised when it doesn't. I'm going to go in this way. That way, you guys can all enjoy in July when I make a raging video about how pissed I am about how DC sucks.
Get the popcorn.
You guys can all see that video of me screaming at the camera as opposed to instead of me saying I told you so. I guess I don't know.
I hope so, though. I hope you say I told you so. So
yeah. I'm just not interested in any of those titles. Like none of them. Maybe Starfire. Maybe I'll pick that one up. But like I'm not like Black Canary. So I'm not into like the cupcakey stuff. I'm into like the super dark DC. So I don't know. I'm like.
Yeah, some of that's still there, but that's the old titles, right?
Right. And I'm not even really picking anything up. I mean, Secret 6 is just a 4-shot, and then once Secret 6 is done, I literally am pulling no DC. So.
Whoa!
Wait.
Secret 6 is not an ongoing?
I think it's only 4 issues.
You just blew my mind.
Yeah, because when I put it on, I looked on Comixology, and the 4th issue like wraps everything up. It's only 4.
Oh, I'm so bummed right now.
Yeah. No, you don't even know. Like I was like, what? But because Gail has a new book called Clean Room, I think, coming out with Vertigo.
Vertigo.
Right. So, and then I assume she's gonna keep being on Red Sonja. I don't really know. But yeah, no, it looks like it's only gonna be 4.
Wow.
Why even bother?
I know. I don't know, and like I know the trade for Secret 6, like the very first run, comes out this week as well, along with the new issue number 2. So
which is
I
awesome.
don't know.
Go pick up the trade. Go pick up the trade because it's awesome.
Oh yeah, everybody needs to do that. But so I don't know. I don't know if they did it because of Suicide Squad, and like they're like we want to like revamp it just for a few issues. But yeah, no, you believe me. I love Secret 6 so much, and that made me so. I was like, what?
Well, I just felt like there was some potential there.
You just wrecked my night.
Sorry. I feel bad now.
Wow, I didn't realize that. I mean, what are they gonna do in 4 issues?
Yeah, because it felt like such an establishing issue, that first issue, that they.
I mean, 4 issues feels like it's just enough time to say, here's the group. Let's go do something.
Let me pull up my account and see. 'Cause I might be wrong, and I might have read it wrong.
Yeah.
I really don't think I did.
Wow.
Really.
I'm thumbs downing this video right now.
Yeah. That's someone else's job.
This sucks.
I am happy that Green Arrow's getting a new writer, though.
Yes. There are some changes with some of the old titles. They're getting some creator changes on it and whatnot. Green Arrow is picking up the guy who wrote that 2. I think it's the same guy who wrote the 2-issue detective story with Leon.
Really?
With Leon doing the art on it. Yeah.
Oh, I'm all over that.
I think it's the same guy. So he's a novelist.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that. Maybe we'll get some decent treatment of.
Well, I mean, China Miéville's run there. He's a novelist, and I think he did a really good job.
On Dial H.
Yeah.
Another book that only me and you read. So.
I did.
Oh, did you? Did you? Okay.
Yeah.
There a few of us that read that one.
Yeah.
So.
I was late to it, but I read it. I loved it.
Were you late to the party?
As always. That's why he's here. That's why he's here, is to plug his own shows.
Yeah.
Well, I
Catch
don't
me
know.
on Constantine. I'll be on the last episode.
Okay, so here's the thing. These are ongoing titles that are going to be around in June. Secret 6 is on the list of titles that's going to be around in June.
Okay, it says, for number 4, it says the secret behind the Secret 6 is revealed at last. So maybe that's just the end of that arc.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
There's no other, at least on Comixology, there's no other subscribes or anything.
Right, because the next 2 months there are no DC books. It's all Convergence. Okay, so for those next 2 months, for 9 weeks, it's the Convergence title and all the tie-ins. So there's basically 2 months. If you're just picking up regular stuff and you're not picking up the Convergence stuff like me, you have no books for 2
Got
months.
it. Okay.
So-
Okay. Sorry,
so
I
that's
didn't read
why-
your night then.
No, you're good. But just a random thought. Have you seen the cover to Secret Six 2? It looks sweet.
Oh,
Yeah.
is that the one? Is that the one with all the spears?
Yeah.
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 All the
looks
covers
awesome.
are like.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm telling you, Gail works with some of the most amazing artists. I don't think I've ever like read a book of hers where like I don't like the art. It's just always so fun. It's just so.
I have. I didn't like the art in the movement.
See, I haven't read that yet. I have all the issues, but
I
I'm
don't.
missing like one or two.
I am
so.
not a fan. I'm not a fan of that artist.
Yeah.
So that kind of drove me away from the book pretty quick. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, shoo. So no panic. Don't need the thumbs. I'll
Okay.
take my thumbs. I'll
Sorry,
take my
guys.
thumbs down off the video now. Okay, so that explains that. The reason you're seeing that gap is because of the convergence. Yeah, because
There
none
we
of the
go.
books exist for those 2 months. So,
Okay.
shoo.
Oh, good. All right.
Yeah. So I think some of us are interested in some of that new stuff. There's some books in there I'm definitely going to pick up out of that new stuff for sure. Bummed did not see some characters on the other side of this whole thing. Of course, me being a Doom Patrol fan, I really wanted to see a Doom Patrol book. Whatever. No rejuvenated Batwoman coming out the other side of this thing.
Yeah,
That's a bummer because I liked that character. I liked her
Well-
own thing in Gotham was cool.
What really was telling to me, I was on a few comment boards talking about this, and they were like Midnighters, so they're just gonna have this gay character come out, and I'm like, there was one. You should have been
Right.
reading it when it was good. Had some of the best art at the beginning of the New 52. What were you doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And I don't think that the Midnighter book. I mean, I've already heard some of that criticism. First off, people mistakenly saying, "Oh, look at what they're just putting this out so they can have DC can finally have a gay character lead a book." Well, that's wrong clearly because there was Batwoman.
There's Batwoman, and World's End is led by a gay character.
Right, and the writer for Midnighter is out, so it's not. I mean, I think that I don't think it's just DC going
Token.
Let's just throw something out there to try and cover the bases. I will say this: there are there are a handful more of female creators that are not established DC people who are now suddenly working for DC. I think that's awesome. I think that helps stretch the diversity. There's people of color amongst those creators too, which I think is great also. I think those are all clearly steps going in the right direction. It does feel to me like to some degree DC has listened to their audience and is trying to respond in some sense. And I think that's what this is. It to some degree is a response. Now, those of us who like everything dark and gritty, to some degree this isn't the response. I'm not just talking about you, Stacey. I'm the same way. Most of the books I want to read, I want it to be as serious could be. I mean, that's my preference. I love superhero comics where it's serious. It's all serious stuff.
Well, because there is a goofy element already there in superhero comics. So you have to serious them up. You have to take them in that direction, because if you just make them goofy, you can't take them seriously to begin with.
Like Secret Six is a fantastic example of combining the dark with the absurd, and it's a really good mix. Like in that Secret Six Unhinged is one of my favorite trades ever, because you laugh while reading it, but then you're like, oh my god, this is so terrifying. Like, what the hell is going on? And I like that element where I'm like, what just happened? All of a sudden Catman was doing something weird, and now
Oh yeah.
what is happening?
Yeah, those are good books. Yeah, then that's true. I mean, you're right. But it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be ridiculous cheery cheesecake either. But I think those comics should exist, because there are people who want to read that. My soon-to-be 14-year-old daughter has a certain amount of disposable income to just burn on whatever the hell she wants to burn on. She's not going to burn it on drudgery. She's gonna. She buys manga, and the manga she buys is all fun, goofy stuff that she's laughing her ass off all the way through it. So it's smart of DC as a business to go, we need some of those. Not all, make the whole line that? Hell no, they better not do that. Or I'll be at the front of the picket line screaming and yelling. But them creating some books that have that are awesome.
Yeah.
You know, once again, it sucks.
What you were saying about, like, you know, maybe they can have, like, you know, like 2 books where you have like one where they're serious, and then like with who were you were talking about, Starfire. So like maybe one like where she's like the serious character, and then there's like a Teen Titans style where she can be like that kid. When that's a good way to be able to kind of get around, and then have like, okay, this is the one, you know, for the readers that want the original one. This can be for the kids who like her in the show or whatever. Then they can read that. So I do think that, yeah, there definitely needs to be some diversity because, yeah, I mean, kids reading comics is awesome, and that's something we definitely want to encourage. But at the same time, you know, I think I just don't like when characters are dumbed down. If that's the right way to say it.
Sure, it is. It is. Yeah. It is. I mean, I think that, they get uncomplicated and simple. Right.
Yeah, and then it's like I feel like. I just feel like the book is no longer written for me and is written for somebody who's younger, which is fine. But then at the same time, like, you're going to lose me, who you know has a pull list and is spending, you know, an absorbent amount of money on comics. And I think that's also something that DC. I don't know if they considered that with Batgirl, but I mean, you know, to Batgirl's credit, people are still reading that title. As much as it makes my skin crawl, people still are still reading it. So clearly, you know, some readers did want the lighthearted approach as well, and I will admit that. You know, I mean, it didn't.
Well, I'm suspicious that there's a certain amount of people who are supporting it, the principle of it, as opposed to the actual product itself.
Mm-hmm.
That's my suspicion. That there are some people who are buying it out of the principle of the idea that this kind of a book should exist, and they're going to promote it because of that, versus did they really want this other Batgirl that used to be there to be gone? Yeah. I don't know if that's the case. Okay. I would have been, like I said, for me, I would have been very happy with two versions.
I don't.
I do think that the book that's out right now is getting better. Each issue is a little stronger than the last issue that was there, and I don't think that's just my wall slowly being worn down by this new version. Because I still pick the book up and read through it and go, this isn't the Barbara Gordon I knew. I mean, it's clearly not. And that's the Barbara Gordon from, you know, clear back into the 70s reading the back issues and whatnot. This is not the Barbara Gordon that was ever in those books. So, but I do think it's going to be a better book. I think those people who are doing the book are figuring out how to make a better book out of it. But it's not the tone that we wanted.
Yeah.
You know?
So in that solicitation thing you're reading, is there any change to any team that have the name Wonder and Woman in them?
No, it is Meredith Finch, David Finch, rocking the Wonder Woman. You know what? As much as some of us abhor that book, hate that book, think she should be taken out and shot, there are people who are jumping on the book going, oh, it's so awesome. Oh, David Finch does such a great job. You know, Wonder Woman's never looked better. I mean, I guess there is a level of criticism. Right, exactly. Dude, bro. There is some level of criticism that could say, I love Cliff Chiang's Wonder Woman. I know there are people who don't like Cliff Chiang's Wonder Woman. I know there are people who are going to say Cliff Chiang's Wonder Woman, she has too strong of a jaw, and she's too flat-chested, and she doesn't look enough like a woman. And then you look at David Finch's version of Wonder Woman, right? And she looks like a geisha girl out of face paint. She has a 12-year-old face, and she's curvaceous, right? I mean, David Finch delivers the stereotypical cheesecaked superheroine, right? And there are plenty of people who are trained that that's what's awesome.
I've heard I don't remember who said this, but somebody said that the only good Wonder Woman story right now is Sensational Wonder Woman, or whatever that book is.
Yeah, Sensational Comics presents Wonder Woman. There are for me personally, there are occasional stories in that are good. As a whole, I haven't been enjoying it because too many of the stories to me in that book feel like a public announcement for what Wonder Woman should be. Instead of just telling us a cool story, they're constantly hitting the nail on the nose as far as this is Wonder Woman, she's feminism, she's this, and I'm all for delivering those messages, but just deliver it in a story. Don't don't have it tattooed on everybody's arm. You know, I mean, like I said, I love those messages. I want those messages to be delivered. But for me personally, it feels like it's just a little heavy-handed. Still superior, in my opinion, to the current Wonder Woman title, though.
Right.
I'm just saying, the current Wonder Woman title just makes me break out. So.
Well, yeah. I mean, we talked about that, I think, when I feel so bad, because every time I'm on, we just talk about that.
No.
It goes back to that. But,
no. Well, this kind of stuff goes back to that, though, because with this announcement,
right.
A lot of people are using Batgirl-esque as the coined paintbrush for this second half, and I think that's a little crazy. Unless they're using it in the broadest sense of the term to say, look, we're going to change some characters and change the tone of some of our books, then fine, use Batgirl-esque.
Yeah.
If they're referring to let's make them all, early 20-somethings, I don't know, fresh-faced something or other, then that's a bad thing, in my opinion, because we don't want all the books that way. I hope to shout the Black Canary book isn't that way, and I'm crossing my fingers that it's not, because in the title right now, Black Canary is kind of full of Barbara Gordon's shit, and she tells her so. Basically, she says, look, I'm sick of you. I'm sick of your attitude. I'm sick of your little princess crap you're pulling. And she leaves. She's been sleeping on her couch because she burnt down Black Canary's home. But she picks up all of her crap and she goes, I'm gone, and leaves. I mean, so she does drag Barbara Gordon down the carpet to say, you're acting like this little princess and this is bullshit. I mean, she doesn't say bullshit, clearly, but so I liked that. So I'm hoping that when she gets her own title, she's a little more of an adult and it's a little more something. I don't know. We'll see.
Window shattering, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on. End of the concert. Anyway, have we talked this out?
I think so.
Okay.
Unless somebody else has something else they want to say about it. I am going in excited. That's all I gotta say. Hopefully awesome stuff comes out of all that. Let's roll on to Marvel. What do we read Marvel-wise? Wonderful Marvel.
I read Ant-Man.
Sweet. I love that cover.
Yes.
Yes.
So talk to me about Ant-Man. How much was this book, by the way? I just want to know how much it was.
$3.99. It was awesome.
Because the first one was like $6, right?
It was $4.99.
Okay.
I get a discount on my pulls, so it was. I don't know.
I just want to look over it.
Yeah. No, I thoroughly enjoyed this.
Mm-hmm.
It was. I think I said in my YouTube video. It's rare unless it's something that Gail's on that I subscribe. Right away after number one. But I did, and this is like kind of setting up. I think where this run is going to end up going. But he is a lot. I was laughing like through the entire thing. So he's kind of in the same vein as humor as Deadpool. I would say a little bit because he's. I know. I'm sorry to you.
I thought I was going to go to an entire show without hearing that name, and you bring it up.
Well, look what I
know.
So I just really thoroughly enjoyed it. And as I'm reading this, I'm kind of gearing up for the new Ant-Man movie. I can kind of see Paul Rudd being in this character, and so that's interesting. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. And there's like a dude in a bear. I forget what is his name. The guy in the bear suit.
I don't remember, but that
Kodiak.
That conversation is hilarious.
And I was like, yes.
I will admit that.
Yeah.
So basically what happens, he's cornered Ant-Man, and he's got him just pinned against the wall, and he says, you screwed my life over. He's like, you got the wrong Ant-Man. There's several of us. There's like 3 of us. And he's like, well, which one is it? And he's like, well, tell me about him. And he starts describing, he's like kind of an arrogant jerk. And he's like, oh, it's this one. Well, where is he? I'll go find him. He's either dead or in space. I don't remember. Like, he's just...
Oh, Grady? Yeah.
Yeah. And so he's trying to get a loan. The first issue, essentially, he's trying to get a security job with Iron Man. Right. And he shows that he can break into... You've heard the gist. So he decides to have a private company down in Florida so he can be with his daughter and all that. And he's trying to get the bank loan, and he sets off the security of this bank, and apparently it lets go a Nazi robot. Like, it's that far out there. And it's just fun. Like,
So, this is written by Nick Spencer. So does it have the kind of vein of Superior Foes? I mean, does it have that kind of humor?
Exactly. Exactly.
God, I have to break down and go buy the damn thing.
Yes, you do.
I was going to, and then I got there and I saw that the cover price was $5, and I went, oh, I don't know that I want to spend $5 on a Marvel book.
It's good.
Yeah.
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 I think you would like it. I really do.
Okay. I'm gonna have to go pick it up.
But he ends. Yeah, I'm not gonna tell. I'm gonna spoil the whole thing. But he ends up kind of. You get the book that we're going to get. I think overall from this.
Yes. Yeah. Very much so.
So yeah, I and if this is the movie, I'll go see it opening day.
Yeah. Exactly.
So
That's what I'm hoping because it's so.
There's no way.
I know, but come on, I let you have the DC hope. Let me have the Marvel hope.
Yeah.
All right?
Okay, I'll just quietly sit here and shake my head then.
I was doing it before, so that's your turn.
I know. Oh.
Yeah. It's really it's really good, and I hope the comic book at least stays in this vein.
Yeah.
So I've been hearing nothing bad about it. Everybody's saying, and confirmation from Flaming Jelly Beans was that Grizzly is the guy that was in the
Yes.
in the bear suit.
Yeah. I was so distracted by it. It's a dude in a bear suit. I was like, this is amazing. I don't like what.
Grizzly was from the Thunderbolts, and when it was with O'Grady, and I love that characterization. Those guys were awesome. So to hear that they're spitting them back up, I'm tempted now. Yeah.
But he's the wrong Ant-Man. That's the thing. Like,
not O'Grady.
So they have this conversation, and he's just like, "Well, I better get out here because I want to go kill that guy. Where can I find him?"
Yeah.
Like he's so one-dimensional in his thinking. Like I just want to find an Ant-Man and kill him.
Yeah.
And so it's great.
Did you pick up Hawkeye, or did you stick to your guns and not pick it up?
I stuck to my guns.
Oh.
Yeah, was I right to do so?
I don't think so, but
Oh, come on.
I mean, so this issue, I mean, it feels really disjointed because clearly it's been like 3 years since the last issue or something like that. September, was that when the last issue came out?
Yeah.
The fight is on.
Okay.
This is Fractions Hawkeye. Yeah, this is issue 21. I believe there's two more issues. One more issue left.
One or two, yeah. I don't know. I'm gonna go to the shop tomorrow. Why are you doing this?
Yeah, because it's still there. It's still all there. It just takes forever to get it, but it's still all there. So basically, this is the fight is on. They've got all the money from the Dude Bros, and the Dude Bros show up in force. The Russians show up in force. They're taking the building. They're taking everybody out in the building. They're gonna crush the place. Well, everybody leaves except for a few people, and Clint and his brother there. His brother's still in a wheelchair, of course.
Is Clint still deaf?
Yes, yeah. Clint is still deaf, and it's hilarious because they write him in here. He'll be reading people's lips, and it'll like in places it'll put options in because you can't. He doesn't know what they're saying, so it'll be like, Jessica Drew, right? That's her name, right? That's Spider-Woman. Yep. It's like his kind of girlfriend is talking to him, and so it'll be like she'll be saying something, and I need to go. It'll say like I need to go to the warehouse, but it'll say warehouse, watermelon, just a bunch of different things. And he's trying to figure out what it is that she's saying because she's trying to read lips. I mean, at one point she's like, "Are you reading my lips, or are you, staring into space? Are you really paying attention to me?" Awesome stuff. So it's this big, massive battle. A few people in the house help them fight. Like Grill's dad is there.
Wow.
Grills is the guy who got killed. His dad is there. Up on top of the building with a bunch of grills.
I feel like they're bringing it all back together. Do you think Kate's going to show up?
Yes, I think Kate's going to show up because at the very end the dog shows up. At the very end of the book.
Oh, pizza.
But they get effed up at the end of it. That stupid guy with the white face and the teardrops.
Yeah.
Somehow he can just get into the building however he wants to with ease, and he goes in and just jacks them up. I mean, they're in really bad shape again by the end of the book.
But that's kind of how it started. I mean, He was kind of like John McClane in Die Hard from the get-go.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Yes, a Die Hard reference. I need to read that now.
And that's
now I know what a dinner feels like.
Yeah, I mean it's got all kinds of great stuff. I mean, if you hate the Russian guys in the tracksuits, you'll continue to hate them because there's entire conversations in here where it's like 3 panels of them saying "dude" like 100 times, and the occasional other word in there like, or bro. They say bro all the time, and there'll be like 3 or 4 words in between that are actually make sense. Otherwise, it's just them just going bro, bro, bro as they're charging out to attack these guys, all wearing tracksuits and ski masks as they attack this building. It's fun. It's the fact that there's this huge gap. I would say if you've gotten all the others, so you're put out another $4, right? $8 to truly have the whole thing finished up. Why would you not do that? Did you hate it that bad?
I was mad at the space. I had been like, where? I thought it had gone away. I thought the friend had moved away, and I was moving on.
Yeah,
I had no idea.
I get it, but there's some great, it's all Aja work, so it's great. There's just lots of freaking cool stuff and whatnot. It was cool. It's a cool ending to it. I'm looking forward to the end just to see how they tie the whole romance with us, the reader, up and poor.
Do you think they're going to tie it all up, or do you think it's going to go into the Lemire run? Because
what they are going to do, obviously they're going to. I think it ties this up. They say in the back of this one that the Lemire run will take some of the stuff that is here, and then of course do their own thing with it. And I haven't decided whether or not now is the time to make a clean break, or if I want to see what Lemire might do. I'm thinking I really need to do the clean break because I really enjoyed this run. It was so much different than everything else Marvel is putting out. It's just kind of, I don't know.
Speaking of unique comics that Marvel is putting out.
Sure. Ms. Marvel.
Continue to love this. I don't know. It fills a void that is missing for me in comics, and it's that teenage superhero that's not too cheesy. You still feel like she's trying to figure out the world. She's getting a little smarter in every issue, kind of becoming a little more of a hero in every issue, and it doesn't feel like it's being overdone and all of that. And I can still see the complaint about the art in it, but I think overall it's just great, and it's been missing since Blue Beetle before the New 52.
Yeah.
Spider-Man when he was a teenager. It's like all there in that one comic, and she's fun and relatable, and I'm sure I'm not saying anything that anyone else hasn't already said.
Yeah. I'm glad this finally ties up this arc with this villain that she has. This
bird.
Yeah, the bird, as she refers to him, the bird, which of course pisses him off because he's not a bird as far as he's concerned.
I just pictured Wednesday Cereal reading that, and like when he goes, "I am not a bird," I can picture, but he is a bird. Sorry, I've been waiting to do that impression all night. All right, go ahead.
Okay. So, I don't know. This almost ended weak for me, though.
Okay.
It had this kind of. It almost had a moment where it almost got too close to the after school or special feel to it. For those of us who are old and remember when they had after school specials, I don't know if they still do that sort of thing anymore or not. Okay.
I know what you're talking about, though.
But the police. She gets in real trouble. She ends up sending code to her friend, and her friend calls the cops. And the actual police show up and kind of rescue her. Help. Save the day at the end of it. And they give the head policeman that seems to be kind of like her liaison now of sorts, gives her this kind of speech that you need to take care of yourself. You need to call us sooner. It just had a few moments in it that was almost a little too heavy-handed. If I wanted to be to be critical about that part, it was almost a little too okay. We're staying. It's a little too clean. Do you know what I mean? It was a little too clean, a little too almost. I mean, like I said, I'm still really enjoying it. I love the character. That part of the story, though, just felt just a little too much like we were hitting too close to that.
Well, I felt a similar aspect to that, but what I think kind of brought me out of that is when she references Medusa and says, okay, I think it lends to her naivete towards the world still, because she kind of goes in like, I can handle this, and it.
I get that part. I guess I didn't like the speech from the policeman.
Sure.
Because the policeman seemed too casual about clearly this young girl, this young woman,
Mhm.
not superhero caliber, but clearly has powers,
Mhm.
and he kind of gives her, I don't know, the lecture, and it
Yeah.
didn't seem like right, and it didn't seem like a sincere lecture from a concerned person. It felt like a practice lecture. Do you know what I mean? There's just an element of it that I went, oh, this is the first thing that felt like a slip in 11 issues to me. And that's just me being,
Oh.
and that's me being, I think me being extra critical of a book I love. I love it to death. You know, I'm always waiting for something to slip on it and not be right, I guess, because it's just been so perfect. That's the one part of it. That was the one element that I kind of went, huh, on this issue. It took me out of it a second to go,
Okay.
it seemed heavy-handed in a sense, I guess.
Yeah, that I guess that didn't really affect me, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Ugh, boy, do I even admit I read this?
Other Marvel book I picked up Angela. Angela issue 3.
I have that, I haven't read it, but go ahead.
Okay, I'm really enjoying it. It's fun. Angela gets a new costume in this. They go out there. They're running from Thor, from Odin's son, and all of Odin's all of Thor's I don't know, goons in this book. They're all like goons, and Loki. They're all chasing her down because of course she stole their sister.
Mhm.
It's just been born. And they're chasing them off through some lands and stuff, and she picks up a new costume. She has a more armored costume. So for the people who are bothered by the fact that she's basically running around the equivalent of the fantasy world chainmail bikini, she is now wearing more plate mail. She still has probably more skin than appropriate showing because of course it's a comic book, but yeah, she gets more armor in it. The artwork continues to be brilliant in it. Because you haven't read it, I won't talk about it. We get more information on her friend, Sira, that's along with her. There's an interesting thing about that character that they reveal in this, and the way they reveal it, I think, is really cool.
I'm liking that Marvel is really exploring the female Asgardians more and more, because I feel like they are such rich characters that I mean, obviously she's new to the party here. Not late, but new. She fits in perfectly, and I don't feel like it's not one I would be like go out and get it immediately. But if you want to check it out, I definitely say check it out.
Last week we did talk about Thor, the female Thor, and I would recommend that one to you. So.
Yeah. I'm loving that.
Yeah. I'm enjoying it. I mean, it's been fun so far. Like I said, I like the art. The character's way more interesting than I thought. Quite honestly, that I thought she was going to be. I love this whole. A big part of her character is this whole debt thing. If you ask a favor of her, you owe her. You need to pay her back. If you do something for her, she takes it very serious that she owes you. That's how she functions in life, is by debts and repayments, and that's all interesting. Towards the end of this, she gets tied in with the Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't know how that's going to work out.
Well, she was in it, so.
I read zero of Guardians of the Galaxy. I could care less about Guardians of the Galaxy. So I'm hoping that. I know, horrible. I'm hoping.
I know what a Deadpool fan feels like now. All of a sudden.
Yeah. Oh no. I haven't. No, I haven't really started picking on Guardians of the Galaxy. I go full bore on Deadpool, but so I don't know. I'm hoping that doesn't. I'm hoping they're just an element to get her to the next place that she needs to be, because that's kind of what they're using her as right now. Because they are still being hunted by Thor, and Thor, like I said, he's got a whole goon squad with him of people that are chasing her down. So if they're just part of that, cool, that's fine. I don't want to have to read Guardian books though to get the rest of my story, so I hope that doesn't happen.
Well, I'm taking a break from Guardians because it's all tied into all kinds of other stuff right now, so. Yeah. Probably not going to be doing that, but I think it's good because she was on that team for a little while, and that's where you get the characterization of her paying debts and owing.
Oh, okay, cool.
So yeah, should I admit that I read Star Wars, or should I just? I don't know. I read Star Wars.
How was it?
Beautifully drawn. C-3PO is really characterized well. Han Solo is a bit iffy. First page in, I was taken out of it. And I'm just going to ask you to humor me here for a second. I want everyone in the room to picture Darth Vader. Picture the way he talks. Picture how awesome he is. Picture all of that. Just do that for me. Luke and him are talking in this. "You killed my father," Luke says. Vader replies with, "I've killed very many fathers. You'll have to be more specific." I had no idea Vader was an 80s villain. I was on the first page, and I feel like Arnold Schwarzenegger should bust open the door any minute and be like, "Ah."
All right, I'm glad I didn't pick it up.
Oh, that's funny.
Are you gonna? I mean, they better not do that with the Vader comic, but
If they do, I'm dropping it after the first issue.
I didn't know we were gonna get puns here and all. Get out of here.
No, because that's so not what Vader is.
No.
Vader is just a legitimate bad guy.
That's right.
Yes.
He's like the ultimate bad guy.
He is. He is
doesn't
Darth Vader. He makes no puns.
He's witty in this, and it's just like, no. It's like they're like, we can make him like Bane a little bit, and that'll work. Not getting into that. But that whole movie was him doing like comebacks like no one's business. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, that's too bad, because I would never picture. Darth Vader doesn't even dialogue, right? I mean, he doesn't dialogue.
Whenever he says something, it means something, and it has an impact to it. Right. And with that, it felt like he was almost like, "Oh, I got you with the line there." And for me, that kind of took me out of the rest. Han Solo isn't as strong as a character as he should be in this too. Princess Leia in this is making me want to check out the Mark Waid book. To be honest, I might drop that to pick that up. I know it's only a few issues, right?
Right. I think it's a 4-issue.
Yeah, I might drop Star Wars. I'm going to pick up Vader. Vader's good. Star Wars is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cool.
And if you like Star Wars, well, we don't have the same taste. So.
I was super.
Fair enough. I know people who read and loved it. So.
Yeah. So.
I was super hesitant to pick up the first issue, and the only reason I did is because I was at a comic shop and they actually had it, and I was forced to buy a variant cover, which I hate variant covers. Like it's a thing. I hate them. Mm-hmm. So I was already kind of like miffed about that. But they were like, "Well, we'll give it for you at cover price," and I'm like, "Thank God." But I read it and I was like, I don't hate this, but I'm waiting out, for the Vader thing because I love Vader. And then so when the second one came, I thought it was like a monthly. Well, I guess it is a monthly thing. It was just a really short month. But I was just like, I don't know, like I don't really want to pick it up. So I'm really glad I didn't, because I too would have like thrown the book down and been like, what is going on? Like,
that's the first page. Yeah. That's what drove me nuts.
People fear Vader because he has like no emotion and he's such a bad guy. And like, I mean, if he's starting to make puns, then people aren't going to take him seriously.
Well,
that's annoying.
You felt his train of thought, like, oh, I'm going to hit him with this line now that he threw that out there. It was almost like Abbott and Costello, to age myself. But that was a joke within a joke. But anyway, I will probably pick up the next issue. That was the only thing that really took me out of it. C-3PO has a great part where you read the first issue?
Yeah.
Those things are taking apart the ship.
Yeah.
And Han Solo says, do something about it. I don't care what you got to do. He grabs a pistol and he walks out and he's like, now you guys need to stop. And he drops a pistol and he instantly puts up his hands like, I surrender immediately. Great.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So he's handled well.
That's good.
That's my Marvel pull, so.
Let's talk Deadpool.
My fave. So I guess you guys probably don't know my history with Deadpool. I hate the current run. I hate Duggan's run on it. Like it tears me apart that I am going to have to pick up the issues leading up to his death because I'm curious and I hate myself for it. So I loved Night of the Living Deadpool. It's one of my favorite Deadpool trades I've ever read. And so when I learned that this one was coming, I was super excited. And this is so amazing. Like, I can put Deadpool back on my pull list, even if it's just for 4 issues, which makes me very excited. Also, if you guys have not read Night of the Living Deadpool, the really cool thing is that it's all done in black and white except for Deadpool. He's the only character that's in color. And so this kind of takes off where the Night of the Living Deadpool left. And there's an awesome female character in this named Liz, who I am so excited. She's super witty, and they have a really good banter back and forth. And Deadpool, like I Instagrammed a picture, like in the second panel, he's referencing Golden Girls, and I'm like, Deadpool is back.
All right, I like that.
I was so excited. So this is just super awesome, and I know people kind of have a love-hate relationship with Deadpool, but like I said, he is my spirit animal because we love Mexican food and Golden Girls, and how do I not love you for that, Wade Wilson? So I can't even explain how happy I am that I can actually like pull Deadpool for a little while, because I was getting really, really not discouraged, but just real pissed off at the fact that, you know, I kept trying to like Duggan's run, and I like would get to the second, you know, panel or something and be like, why does he have a kid and a wife, and literally throw the book down and like walk away.
Well,
so,
I asked Deadpool fans this because they're very specific about their. Do you feel like the character's a little bit oversaturated, a little bit too out there, and maybe that's what leads to you not, you know, being very.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know when the hell he became so popular. I learned about, this is my Deadpool history in short. My friend was like, you should check out this trailer for this video game. I have no idea what it is, but it looks like it's right up your alley. And it was for the Deadpool video game. And
Okay.
I was like, what is this? And then I went online and, you know, just kind of bought a bunch of random, I was like, oh, he's a comic book character. I need these comics. And so I just kind of like stumbled into him on my own.
Mhm.
And I think that makes a difference because it was before he was super popular.
Yeah.
And then I think, I don't know exactly when maybe when Deadpool, or when Wolverine Origins, the movie came out with Ryan Reynolds,
Mhm.
that might have been about the time when Deadpool kind of like really blew up. But I was never really aware of that. So then when when people would ask me, oh, like, what comics are you reading? And I'd be like, oh, I like read this Deadpool thing. And there was such rage. I didn't understand why. Now I do, because he's like, you can't walk down the street and turn and there's not something Deadpool. So now I totally understand, why people don't like him. But like I said, I mean, I love goofy things, and I have a very dry, ridiculous sense of humor. And so reading a comic, that has a character like that, I thoroughly enjoyed. Now, do I think there are way too many Deadpool books going at the same time? Yeah. I mean, I think, it's just, I think, you could have a solid run like this, and be good. Because it's so good, and I don't know. And do we need to kill Deadpool? No, he has healing factor. Why is he dying? Like, it's just ridiculous, and I don't understand. And I think it's just, I mean, they want to do something out there, I guess, and I don't really know. But yeah, for me, I mean, I cannot help but love him. I mean, and it depends on the run. Sometimes I don't like it if the females are super over-sexualized. Then those runs, I'm like, I'm not into that. But like in this one, I mean, the main character she's a survivor of the zombie apocalypse and is really badass. So I like it when he has allies. I also like Deadpool Corps a lot as well, because I like Lady Deadpool, I like Headpool. I like the ridiculous of it a little bit, but now I do. Like I said, I do agree that it's kind of becoming just way too in your face. And I wish they would do a Lady Deadpool title again. There's a one-shot that I have that I don't actually love, and I think that she's a character that could, maybe kind of bring more people to the book, but just be kind of a different way to go, instead of just focusing on him. But now that he has a wife and a kid, I'm just like, this is so dumb. And a lot of people disagree with me on that. A lot of people like the more serious Deadpool, but it doesn't, talking about consistency, there's just no consistency to him right now, so...
That's actually my criticism of the character, is the consistency. I don't know when he's serious and when he's not, and whenever I've tried to get into the character. I don't hate him on Travis levels, but I definitely have never been able to get into the character.
And I will say this, now, and I've said this to Travis, I'm pretty sure somebody else has said this to him too, but read Gale's run on Deadpool, because it's...
Wednesday Serials.
Yeah, Wednesday Serial. Because it's a good... Like, some people don't like the art, but
the art is horrific. It's horrific. I have it. Wednesday Serial sent it to me to convince me that Deadpool is awesome, thinking, it's Gale, it'll be okay, right? I had such a struggle with the art that it made it hard for me to read the book. It was.
But maybe if I give you background on the art, this will change your mind. Rob Liefeld created Deadpool and Cable.
Sure,
because,
I get that.
Yeah, because he was inspired by like Japanese manga. I understand, like the art. You know, if you're going from reading something like this to reading something like that, it's like, whoa, why is this like a manga thing? I get that. But I think it's a really good story because it's a good balance for Deadpool. I think it's probably the only book of Deadpool that I've read that's pretty just well like even keeled. It's one of those books that I think has brought a lot of people to Deadpool. But so I tell people if they want to get into Deadpool to start with that one because it's not. I don't know, it's not as like crazy as some of them are. Because some of the runs, are absolutely like what is going on right now. But
I came into the character when the character first came around in New Mutants, and he was vastly different than he is now. And so that was the other problem I had. He was just a smartass that would kill people.
Exactly.
That's all he was. And so.
And I miss that. And you know I do. I wish that I don't know, like, I feel like having a kid and then being married is a gimmick, and I wish that people would stop with the gimmicks and just get back to writing him as a mercenary who is a smartass.
But that's all he is a gimmick. That's all he is a gimmick. Come on. He hasn't been anything more than a gimmick for years and years. Deadpool kills, the classics. Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe. Deadpool kills...
That's only recent,
Deadpool died. It's all a gimmick. That's all it is. That's what he is a gimmick.
Recent.
Stacy, did you read Deadpool versus Hawkeye?
I did not. I picked up the Zero issue, and because, Duggan wrote that, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, and then it's like he's trick-or-treating with his kid, and I literally threw it down, and I was like, no, because that's, I don't know. I just don't, he's a character that, if you're going to make him have a family life, it's not going to work. And now they're going to kill him. So it's like, so now he's going to leave a wife and a kid behind. Great. This makes no sense, guys. What are you doing?
And see, for me, I think I would like the character more if he had some grounding in something realistic and then functioned around that. But for me, anything of his I read, he's so unhinged from what even comes close to even comic book reality that I have a hard time. Enjoying lots of the funny that's in it, because there isn't anything else there beyond the funny. It's just like you're talking about the Secret Six, where you have these serious stuff going on, and then there's these moments that are hilarious of levity that goes on in it. That works because you have a balance of the two things.
Which is why Gale's run works.
The writing end of it was fine. Yeah. The art was so bad in it, though.
That's when you know art is bad.
Wait, so Travis, so if they had another artist, redraw it, and Gale's words are all there, would you like Deadpool?
I would have liked that story better, yes. I mean, because the premise of the idea, the part that what I read anyway, is that he gets so wiped out that he ends up not knowing who he is. He gets so devastated that he ends up coming back as this other character for a while, right? Whatever. What was he called? Something different. I can't remember what it was. But, but that is somewhat interesting. I did not. There are characters in that I'm kind of surprised that Gale's the one that wrote them, because to me they're bad characters, and then to top it off, then the way they're drawn makes them horrific. Characters. I just the art made it so unmanageable though, and because it is a comic book, and art is part of the part of the storytelling, and so that makes it awfully tough. I am curious still to go and pick up the Kelly run of it, to see what he has to say. I hear there's some bad art in that too, though. But I'm curious to see what he has to say, because he has an earlier take on the character. So I think to me it sounds like it's a little more grounded and whatever. It's just the stuff. I inevitably have tried picking up lots of Deadpool. The latest run when it first came out, when he was killing dead presidents. I started on that.
It's not.
that lost me pretty quickly.
Yeah.
You know, I like Cullen Bunn as a writer. That's who's written the one you're reading right now, right?
Yeah.
You know, so I've tried some of his things I didn't care for. I like the idea of, you know, Deadpool, Killustrated, for instance. I thought that was funny because, of course, I like all the literary big works, and so I thought that was going to be amusing. No, it really wasn't.
Yeah.
He's so far outside of the fourth wall lots of times that it just, I don't know. It all feels like a gimmick. There's not like you're talking about continuity and whatnot. There is no real story to Deadpool. It's just what kind of stupid thing can we have him walk through and say chimichanga and make a Golden Girls reference, and that's all it is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. But then in like this one, then I think when you put him and you have him team up with other characters, then that helps ground the story. And
I like Deadpool Art of War. I thought that was fun because there was something actually happening. You know, Deadpool was the person responsible for it, and Deadpool was wading along through it and has his moments, but there was something actually happening. Whereas a lot of the other ones, you know, him just going along and, you know, shooting Huck Finn in the head or whatever, that's a gimmick. To me, that's a gimmick. It's not like anything's really happening. It's not a real story. It's just what kind of stupid thing can we have Deadpool do now?
Right. Well, Gail has said that she wants to write on Deadpool again, and I think that would help a lot. Obviously I would pick that up, but I also think that, you know, if that happens, well, I think Deadpool should die and should go away for a while. I do agree with that because, I mean, it's kind of like with me and Batman and the Joker. I'm over them. Like, if they died, I would be okay with it because I'm just tired of seeing them everywhere. So, you know, I do think he needs to go away for a little bit, and then after, you know, a little while, I think it would be good to have her back on because she like I said, I mean, she's such a good writer that she handles it like Secret Six, where it's the absurd but also, you know, the really good story. And then we could just get, you know, a really good artist on it, and then I think it would be a solid book, and I would thoroughly enjoy it. So, but for now, I have this, and I'm happy. And then after this, I will force myself to read Duggan's Run Out, and then.
Right. And I agree with Travis that in a team he works really well because in Uncanny X-Men, I thought he did a great job.
Yeah, and in X-Force, I love him in Cable.
Uncanny X-Force, yeah.
Deadpool and Cable is one of my favorite trades that I have because, you know, you have Cable who, like I said, if you have somebody who's serious with him, it really balances them out.
So you have the straight man. So his funny is funny because you have a straight man to.
Exactly. So maybe Travis, maybe you would like Deadpool and Cable.
I may give that a try then because I appreciate that stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I appreciate chimichangas too, and a good Golden Girls reference and joke is awesome. But my problem is most of what I get is just that, and if that's all it is, it's just kind of, for me, kind of one note and doesn't mean anything. So, you know, that's part of because and I just like picking on Deadpool. It's like picking on Aquaman. So.
Don't you dare.
Aquaman is awesome in Injustice, the video game, because you stab your opponent with a trident and you feed him to a pet shark. That's awesome. And I win every time with him, and people are like in disbelief when they play me. And they're like, "How did you win with Aquaman?" And I'm like, "You underestimated him."
Yeah, that's what it is. You can talks to fish, whatever.
Yes.
You can trash Deadpool all you want. Let's draw the line at Aquaman.
Okay.
Move on.
But no, give Deadpool and Cable a try because you might like that. Cable is very straight-laced. He's very military.
I'll check that out. Well, while we're kind of on the Deadpool thing, I'm just curious as to what your opinion is. You know, you have a Deadpool movie supposedly coming up at some point, right?
Yeah.
Does Deadpool movie have to be rated R for it to be good?
No, and it's so dumb.
See, it would be a mistake, right? I mean, I keep hearing people say, you know, oh, if they make it PG, it's gonna wreck it. I'm thinking, how? The comic book is PG. I mean, it's violent as all hell, but it's really PG. I mean, to make it rated R is going to take a large percentage of your audience away, first and foremost, I would think.
Yes.
And what if they made it rated R? They're going to actually show graphic violence. I mean,
no. Here's my argument against people who are like so hardcore about it being R. Wolverine stabs people with his claws, and they get away with a PG-13 rating because they don't show blood. Like, you can show the aftermath, like in the test footage that they leaked. Like, the guy's head comes off. You don't see it actually happening. You just see him holding up the head. Like, you can do stuff like that and get around it. But yeah, Deadpool isn't, I mean, I guess people are like, because of the gore and stuff, but you can totally do that with a PG-13 rating. Like, I don't understand, it's not like Deadpool is Die Hard, where he's saying the F word every 5 minutes, you know? So I don't know if people just want it to be more gory or more, like, it's not a Tarantino movie. And I think maybe that's what people want it to be, but that's not what Deadpool, I mean, I guess it could work as that, but it really shouldn't. Because, like we said, you know, you need to have that balance of story and funny. So I think it'll be fine. And I think even Rob Liefeld himself has been like, no, like a PG-13 rating is fine. Yeah. So
I was just curious because like I said, I've heard so many people say that it's a mistake if it's not rated R, and I keep thinking, granted, I don't have a huge breadth of Deadpool, but it strikes me as being wrong to make it that there's no reason for it.
No, and I mean, if you have it PG-13, I mean, maybe the only reason why it would need to be R is because of all, you know, the over-sexualization of women, but if you have it PG-13, then you won't have that, and I would be more than okay with getting away from that, so... I think Ryan Reynolds is a perfect choice. Because he loves Deadpool. Like, he reads the comics, he knows the source material, and in fact, he turns scripts away because he's like, you guys are going outside the realm of the comics, and we don't need to because it's all right there. So I think, you know, he's being very smart about it, and they're giving him a lot of. I think he's actually a producer on it. So that gives me a lot of faith in it. But also just the fact that he's hilarious, and he's just, I mean, a lot of people are kind of ragging on him as Deadpool, but I don't see anybody else being a really good choice because, I mean, he loves the character and he's hilarious. So I think it's gonna be good. I don't think, I mean, I'm going in with really high hopes, which is, you know, I tend to do Marvel movies anyway, but I don't think I'm gonna be disappointed. I think if anything, I'll walk away going, yeah, they probably could have made it a little bit better, but look at what they've kind of been able to do. Because I would love to see a Cable movie. I would love to see an X-Force movie, because these are characters that I love. And I would love to see a Deadpool and Cable movie. So if this is like the start in getting those going, then I'm all for it.
Cool. Any other Marvel books you want to talk about?
That's all I read.
We want to talk about, so right after DC put out their announcement on whatever day it was this week, almost immediately after that, Marvel announced that they were going to do, that they had a big, diverse book that they were putting out also, that they were going to do an all-female super team, an all-female, basically, Avengers team, written by G. Willow Wilson. I'm drawing a blank on who it was they said was doing art. Female creator also. And the book was going to be called A-Force. No. Yeah, A-Force.
Yeah,
A-Force is what it's going to be called. Anybody have an opinion on A-Force? I think it's a horrible name. I'll say right off the top, as far as a title for a book, A-Force. But they named, literally, if you can name a female hero in the Marvel Universe, I think that's been talked about in the last 5 years, it's supposedly going to be in this book. Gwen Spider is going to be in it. You know, Spider-Woman's going to be in it. Silk's going to be in it. Angela's going to be in it. She-Hulk's going to be in it. Wildcat's going to be in it. I don't know. Who else? Wasp is going to be in it. I mean, Jean Grey, X-Men, she's going to be in it.
She's dead.
No, she's not. Clearly, she's the past version of her isn't dead.
She always comes back.
So, yeah. I mean, what do we...
I don't know much about it.
And it's got the Secret Wars moniker attached to it in some sense. So I don't know if that means it's going to be limited in its breadth. Go ahead, Mike.
I did know that one of them, it's like Synergy or you know, there's one character name, and they did mention that it's like a Q-Force godlike creature that is coming from the Secret Wars. and so that person, that character, is coming in like that, and it looked like that character is a lot from the Avengers. They had like a Captain or Universe, and that was
Yeah.
a female character. It seems to be almost like that character.
So I don't know if there's time jump involved in this, time travel, if that's how they're getting all these characters in, or I have no idea, because they'll give you that level of detail on it. I mean, part of me is excited because G. Willis Wilson is writing Ms. Marvel. We've all been enjoying that. Her breadth of work before this, I think, has been solid. I've enjoyed everything of hers I've ever read. I know she's exclusive. She signed an exclusive with Marvel, so this is one of those books they're having her do. So I'm interested in it from that aspect. But when they listed off all those characters, I mean, some of these characters like brand new, and they're just kind of throwing them all together. It sounds like a hot mess, though, too, at the same time.
Yeah.
It feels, and this is me and my cynicism about some Marvel aspects, and people can point at me and say I'm a DC fanboy and you just hate Marvel. I don't think that's the case, but you can take what I'm saying as that if you want to. It feels like this is a pandering. It doesn't feel organic to me. It feels like a pandering. Look, here we're gonna throw another.
Yeah.
We've got this title and it has all, because right now, women-driven books and trying to get that level of diversity is kind of a fad. Hopefully it sticks, but right now it still feels kind of like a fad. It doesn't feel organic in any way, shape, or form. It just feels like, look at us. We're giving girls what they want by giving this huge thing. I say that, I'm going to pick the book up. I'm going to at least pick up the first issue of it because I have a certain amount of faith in the creators that we might get something cool out of it. But part of me feels like it's fake fan service also.
Yeah, well, and why do you have to have every single female character thrown into one book? I feel like the story, I feel like, I love Birds of Prey because you have 3 central characters. Why not do something like that? And then you can focus on each individual character, give them a decent, story arc, all of them, throughout the run. I feel like if you have that many characters in your book, you're not going to be able to do it justice, and you're not going to, some of the characters will be standout characters, some of them will be background characters, and I don't like that, because what if I really like a character and, she's just kind of like a background character? So,
yeah, and I don't know if ultimately, all those characters are going to be in the book all the time. Because you're right. How are you going to write that? How do you write a book that has 60 characters in it all at once? There's no way. Here, I'll show you guys if I can get the cover up here. I'll show you the cover. I mean, it sounds cool. I mean, it's got Dazzler. I mean, it sounds like it could be loads of fun, but I just don't. Yeah, see, there's the cover. Is it showing up? Hopefully it's showing up.
Let's see here.
So, you've got She-Hulk clearly there in front, back in her old purple costume, which I think is kind of interesting. But, you've got Dazzler, Storm, Wasp, Kitty Pryde, North Star. I mean, everybody, right? I mean, if you look way in the background, you've got Eradicator. You've got the old Captain Marvel in the with the afro and the the white costume from back in my day of the Avengers. So and Jean Grey is wearing her Phoenix costume, right?
Well, I kind of made the joke on Twitter about how we kind of had a female-led book, Fearless Defenders,
right?
No one read it, and it was great.
Yeah,
but
I read it till you jumped in price. So
yeah, that's true. No, I felt like they tried to kill that book, to be blatantly honest.
So I don't know. I mean, I don't know. But like I said, part of the sinister, cynical person in me is like, yeah, okay, whatever. I think it's interesting they have Spider-Woman in her old costume here. But
I'll check this out. Why not?
Yeah, I mean,
I'll probably give it a shot. We'll see.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm hoping that it's more than just that. To me, Marvel has a track record of throwing female titles out there, letting them set for 5 to 9 issues, and they flop, and then they make the statement, "Look, we tried," even though they don't really promote the book. No, we tried. Women books don't sell, and then they, act like they did us a favor by throwing something out there. But if they're not throwing out a good product, they're not doing anybody a favor. So
sure.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What are their strongest female title? I know Captain Marvel is really strong,
Yeah.
and Ms. Marvel,
Mm-hmm.
and then they canceled She-Hulk, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that? I have the first trade, which I haven't read yet, but is that? Did you guys like that?
I love it. I think it's a fun book. The art is a challenge. It's
Okay.
so different. It's so radically different from from standard comic book art. The paneling though is really sharp. It's just you have to get used to the fact that like She-Hulk, her eyes are set too far apart in her head, so she
It didn't bother me.
there's all that kind of stuff that people have a problem with. And then the other problem was about the time people started to get adjusted to the regular artist in the book.
Yep. I was just about to say.
They had a guest artist for 2 issues, and it would be like putting Pablo Picasso on a book at his most radical moments on a comic book after you had somebody who drew a realistic comic book and then suddenly threw Pablo Picasso on it. That's the equivalent. Not to say that it's great modern art, but it is just so radically different.
Yeah.
I liked it. I liked the art, but it was not for that book. I would love to see that artist do some other comic book, but that art was just so radically different that a lot of people dropped the book like a heartbeat on that.
Did you ever see the old cartoon Aeon Flux?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It
I own it.
looked exactly like that.
Yeah, it was an extreme version of that. Yeah.
Love that cartoon, by the way. But
Yeah. So yeah, but I thought that was an enjoyable book. It was an interesting and kind of fun run. It had more of the lawyer aspect into it. It was kind of cool seeing Jennifer Walters try to do her own practice, do her own thing. She had an ensemble cast of characters with her that were fun.
Hellcat.
Hellcat, a great way of using Hellcat as kind of her detective that did her legwork for her. The typical lawyer show, but not kind of thing.
It's Charles Soule too. You're good.
And Charles Soule wrote solid characters. Marvel just chose not to want to continue to pay him to do the book, so it's done.
All right. Cool. Good to know.
But yeah, there aren't that many. Well, there's Spider-Woman, right? I don't know how great that book's selling, but there's Spider-Woman. Think is coming. Gwen Spider's coming. They got a bunch that's coming out here pretty quick, right?
For spiders, yeah.
Right. Oh yeah.
I tried. I think I said I tried
not
to.
Good for you.
Well, I tried to pick up Spider-Woman, and I was just because I'm not reading Spider-Verse because I'm not a Spider-Man fan, and it's okay, but I'm not. I don't know. Well, I'm terrified of spiders, so there you go.
Right. I was gonna say.
But I more like Venom and Carnage because I don't know, for some reason, if I don't like the hero, I like their villains. But I tried reading it, and then you're just thrown right into the story that it's just so like this is what's already like taken place, and you're just kind of thrown in to a story that's already been established. And if you haven't read those, you're just kind of like, I don't know what's going on, and that's not great for #1 issue.
I had to drop Amazing because of that, because I wasn't going to read all of Spider-Verse, and I was kind of bummed out because I was kind of enjoying it, but
yeah.
I'm gonna jump on Spider-Woman at like issue 5 because at issue 5 the Spider-Verse stuff is done and she's supposedly just gonna be doing her own thing. So I'm hoping to jump on then and get a real story. I hope.
You want to talk about gimmicky stuff? There's all the tie-ins that Marvel does and stuff, where you have to buy like 5,000 million other issues. I find that more gimmicky than Deadpool. At least with Deadpool, I can pick up an issue and like nothing is really tied in, and I can read all of it. But like not being able to pick up a #1 issue of something because you haven't read 5 million other books is it's a pain in the ass, and I don't. That's my main thing with Marvel right now. Is just like with Axis and all these other tie-in things. Like there are books that I don't want to read because I don't want to spend the money because I don't care about those characters. Yeah. And then for Marvel to like force me, if you want to read this one book, you have to read all these other ones. I'm like, well, then I'm not going to read anything of yours, I guess, because it's just, I'm not cool with that.
Yeah, that keeps me from X-Men books and adventure books. When I was a kid, I loved those books, and I keep thinking, at my adult age, I would like to pick those up again. But they are so tied into everything that it's like, I can't, I don't want that, and you can't get a full story just collecting that. So yeah, it keeps me away from collecting the new stuff too, just because of that. And that's a huge mistake with the case of Spider-Woman. For a #1 issue anybody should be able to be going blind, not have the first clue about comic books at all, and should be able to pick up a #1 issue and get something out of it. Especially when you're introducing a character like that. Of course, I say that, and then I cut slack when it comes to independent comics. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't cut superhero comics that kind of slack though. It should not be that complicated.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anything else you want to talk about Marvel? We can go on to some independent books. Did you read any books this week, Mike?
Is nobody reading my AOL blog? Yes, I am. I got independence.
Your AOL blog. Awesome. So what did you read, independent-wise, Mike? Let's hear from you for a little bit.
Well, when you look at this beautiful cover of Cowl 8, once again it took off. It's deep in story, but not confusing. It just pops and jumps with its characters, and it's just what you want out of an independent, and especially for a superhero book, because we so often don't mention that there is independent superhero books. So
there's not a lot. There's not a lot. So
no.
Yeah.
I just loved how it just stays strong in a book that's about superheroes who are part of a guild, a union. Yep, and that it's all about fighting unions, and it's politics, and it's backstabbing and all that. I mean, it could be so shallow, and it's not. And I don't know if it's just how they flush out each character, if it's how something gives it a fresh breath. That I mention it every time I read it. This could be flat, but it is awesome.
Mm-hmm. And it's set in the late '60s, mid '60s. So so it has that kind of. I don't know if Madman's the right. It has a tone that's kind of like that in a sense. Yeah. I mean, the way that people dress, the way they conduct themselves. You're starting to get. We're right at that era where women still had their place, but they're starting to really question that quote unquote place. They're getting tired of being called gals and honeys. We're right at that stage in history too. So there's that kind of stuff that's kind of in play in the background, which is kind of cool, I think, because one of the really strong, interesting characters in this is this lady who, she's got the ideal that we got superpowers.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether we're on strike, we should be doing the right thing. If crime is happening, if people are being hurt, we should be using our powers to save people. And of course, the union's going, we're on strike. If you work while we're on strike, you're a scab, and all that stereotypical tension that goes on with the unions and scabs working and all that kind of stuff. You're counterproductive to us, and we're going to take care of you if you cross the line, kind of a thing. Yeah. That's all really interesting. But she's got enough power that it's not just simply a matter of step in line or we're gonna beat you up or something, because she's got enough superpowers that she's not a pushover. So how they're going to handle her could be really interesting. And of course, in this story we got going on here, there's this other secret stuff, this really sinister stuff that's going on. One of the characters found out about that, and they execute and kill that character, and they kill him under the guise of self-defense because they got carried away because he was being a scab, which is a total farce. That isn't what happened, but they hide it under that. So those elements about it make it extra, cool on the way. And the art continues to be awesome. It's this kind of painted. It still reminds me of like a mix between Phil Noto and Bill Sekowitz. Type of style of art. It's that kind of painted kind of that stuff, and at times it gets a little on the trippier side. Like this is a villain that suddenly showed up. He's got this paint on his head. He's got these kind of crazy suit that he's wearing and stuff. And
it's set in Chicago, so it gives you this realistic place feel, and then that some of them have come back from the war, World War II, and it's in this time of struggle for people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good. It's been cool, and I'm happy that it's good now, because the first 6 issues were something that was written a long time ago. It was part of a film student kind of a thing. It was written for a a short movie. That's what it was originally moved on, and they adapted it into a comic. We weren't sure what it was going to be like getting past their story that they had written for that, and they're taking it and doing great stuff with it, I think so.
And that they're adding villains. I like that it's at that point too. So we're getting a conflict that's bigger than the police. So
yeah. Cool. Yeah. What else?
Lady Killer.
Lady Killer. Sweet. Love this cover. I love the stylish enough for her, but roomy enough for everyone else as there's a body thrown in the trunk of this car.
Yes.
And the cover right there, that to some degree, that sums up the style of this book, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What'd you think, Stacey?
I loved it. I was super. I said this in my review, but you know, the fact that you know, people were saying, well, we don't really know exactly why she's doing this. We kind of get more of her story in this, and we, you know, spoiler, I guess. You know, we find out she's been doing this for 15 years, and I said this. I get the impression that she wants out. You know, she's kind of done now. She has this family, she has kids, and I think she's seen what a normal life can be like, and so she, you know, is questioning whether or not she wants to continue on doing this. And that's, you know, with the panel with her boss is like, you know, we're gonna essentially, you know, you can't leave unless you're in a body bag. So I think that's a very interesting conflict. This is only going to be 5 issues, so it's going to be interesting to see, you know, what happens. But yeah, no, I thoroughly enjoyed this just as much as the first one.
Yeah, and that conversation with the boss is very, very subtle. I mean, it's not like he ever says. I mean, it is very subtle that, you know, we feel like you've got some timeline issues with the work we have for you to do, you know, and where, you know, your priorities are, you know, well, you know, the job and the family, and you know, you better make sure you keep those priorities right, or some of those priorities might have a problem. There's some great stuff in there, and you know, so it has 2 elements to it, of course, because of the era that it's set in. It, you know, it has the clearly, you know, he's the male boss, and you know, she still clearly has the role of being, despite her being a hired killer, it still has that kind of office feel to it, that office politics kind of feel to it, you know, that she has to cater to him, you know, stuff. And yeah, it was really, you know, really cool. And of course, she's a complete badass in it. I love the art. Yeah. I love it when she's taking out the latest victim in this. The way they draw her, you know, she's drawn. You know, you can see her muscles flexing and stuff. You know, typically, even you know, when we see most comic books where we see lots of women of action, when they're actually doing something physical, they don't look physical. You know what I mean? They don't. You don't see biceps flexing and that sort of stuff. Whereas here, Jolene, you know, does not pull any punches of the fact that she's throttling this guy with his necktie. She is just. I mean, she's just reefing back, and you can see her just flexing all the way. And
I love the fact that, you know, she's in a super over-sexualized outfit, but it doesn't hinder her in any way, and she gets the job done, and that becomes a totally non-issue. And it's like, this girl is badass, and she's awesome. And I also like, you know, again, spoiler, the fact that we find out who her next victim is, and that was a shock, because I'm like, is this real? Yeah. Like, is this actually a thing? And then you know,
you can't wait to see her take a ball-peen hammer to that next victim?
I know. It's gonna be. I don't know. I mean, I think that's definitely gonna be a conflict. The only thing that I was kind of, you know, I was like, oh, they didn't touch on this is the mother-in-law, because I thought in that first issue they kind of set up a real like the mother-in-law, you know, sees her walking off with.
Yeah, you know. They didn't, but at the same time, they kept the mother-in-law in the story.
They did.
You know, in this issue, you know, she's got her other young female friend, and they kind of laugh about the mother-in-law. So from a writing element, they do keep the mother-in-law in the story. So it's like she's forgotten. I mean, they didn't have time to probably, you know, to do that, but you know she's going to come up and be a problem later on. And so they kept her in the story by having that moment where she's unloading the groceries, you know, and she has her pregnant friend there, you know, giving her that stuff and whatnot. And I love how they live this such perfect ideal life. The husband, completely oblivious. Clearly, they're laying down to go to bed at the end of the night, and she's trying to figure out a way to go and do this next job.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, my sister-in-law, she sets up this great story. Of course, he doesn't want to deal with the in-laws, so he's going to stay home. It's okay. I'll see you Sunday. No big deal. Completely oblivious. So the only person that might have a hint is, of course, the mother-in-law. You know how mother-in-laws are. So, but well, maybe you don't. But anyway, so yeah, it's cool. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's a great comic.
It's very like role reversal, which I love, and I think that's absolutely great. Because the husband is more of a plot point than anything. It's nice to see a male be a plot point in a story.
He literally is just that. Yeah.
That's all he is, and I think that's great. So yeah.
And I was definitely one of those people that was my main criticism with the issue number 1 is she's living this kind of perfect ideal life. Why the hell is she doing what she's doing? This clearly tells us that with her basically have been doing the job for 15 years. She had the job before she got married and had the family. And clearly that kind of job, you don't just, I'm done now. I'll see you guys later, kind of thing. So
yeah,
it's pretty cool. Definitely. So I hope it takes off. I know issue 1 sold out and whatnot. I don't know what the print run was on it, but I'm hoping it does well because I'd love to see Jolene do more stuff.
They already are having to do reprints.
Yeah.
It's giant. I hope, what I kind of hope with this book is I would like to see maybe a movie be made out of it. I think it could carry as well on the page as it could on the screen. So it'll be interesting to see if it keeps doing as well throughout the entire run. Where it could go from here.
That's crazy talk. Female-led action movies just don't sell. That's crazy talk.
Yeah, I know. It'll never happen.
Well, the comic shows that there's no reason it can't. Clearly.
Yeah. Well, again, with Agent Carter, being kind of like a period piece with the main female action hero, I think. And Chew, not to bring Walking Dead into this, but you have Carol on the show. I know you have Carol on The Walking Dead, who's become one of the biggest characters on that show. So I definitely think that the mindset that women can't be central action heroes is totally being changed, which I'm super excited about.
Well,
especially in the comic.
Anyone who says that, I have a Resident Evil movie for them to watch or two.
Yeah.
That as well. And Alien.
Yeah. That's all-time favorite movies, Aliens. So don't even go there.
Yep.
So what other indie books do we want to talk?
Oh boy.
I have tons, so so
apparently.
whatever you want to talk about, I probably have it. So
I have one or two you probably don't, but
okay.
Do you want to go Hellboy or do you want to go Nameless?
Let's go Nameless first.
All right.
So Nameless, the next Grant Morrison work, with art by Chris Birmingham, who of course was his longtime artist for Batman Incorporated, right? So
yeah.
With great coloring by Nathan Fairbrother. However you say his last name. Sorry.
I'll let you handle that.
Yeah. So super excited because of course the cover, it's got guys in spacesuits with mystical crap on it. So that makes it awesome right off the bat.
Gorgeous book.
Right. Read it twice.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed it because I read it twice. I don't know. I guess my problem is, and this happens a lot with me with Grant Morrison, I get super excited. I think I'm going to get this big, thick, juicy whatever. It's going to have all these layers and all this meta text going on that I'm going to have to try and wrap my head around. And I didn't feel like there was any of that really here. I pretty much got what was going on. I didn't feel like, the reason I read it the second time was because I thought, okay, I had to have missed something.
Yeah.
There wasn't anything that truly made me go, what the hell did I there was some stuff I went, oh wow, and it was cool, but nothing that I was like, felt like I was, had something turned on my ear, or I felt like I didn't know what was happening, kind of moments, which is lots of times happens with Morrison for me. So,
it's first issue.
Yeah, but when I read the first issue of Annihilator, I was like, what the, this is awesome. So, but I really liked it though. There are a lot of cool elements going on, right?
Yeah, I think what he's doing necessarily with this main character, who is nameless, is interesting. And
Yeah.
I was confused right away. I was like, so wait, he's in a dream? He's not? Oh, okay, now he is in a dream. I had to read it a second time myself. I don't know you understand it. I don't know where they're going with this. I'm more interested where they're going, but I don't know where it's. Do you feel like you have the scope of it?
Well, okay, so clearly my understanding is that the character Nameless for a reason, because of course if you're dealing in the mystic arts and whatnot, if people know your true name, they have power over you, that stereotypical kind of stuff. So he goes by Nameless to alleviate that problem. He is some sort of a occultist detective type person hired to steal this key, is what this first issue is, this key that's in the dreams.
But they throw in. One of my issues with this was I felt like they threw in a lot of things that are going to age this book terribly. Did you feel that at all? There's a Facebook reference. There's a 3D printer reference.
3D printer, right. So yeah, those are all things you look at that stuff and you go, oh man, 20 years from now when we all have pocket printers, him saying that he's got a 3D printer is going to be, which is all the rage right now, right? Yeah, I get that, but at the same time, that's cool. He didn't actually have to. I mean, he's in a dream state, but obviously the dream state has some actual physical effects and whatnot. As he's raiding this woman, this veiled, they call her the veiled woman or something like that. She's clearly some sort of an element that they're all aware of, even the people who aren't in the dream world. She's a nemesis of some sort. He's hired to steal this key. Well, he has the key for a while. He almost escapes with it. He can't actually get it, but he quickly, when he wakes up,
photographic memory.
He draws it out on a computer pad, and then they can print a 3D copy of it and whatnot. And then he gets told, oh, by the way, there's this asteroid that's going to hit the Earth. It's not going to miss it by any means. It's 7, 12 miles long, kind of a thing. This huge rock, and it's got a giant mystic symbol on it, and it's going to paste the Earth. And we've only got 33 hours, right? Because 33 comes up a number of times in the book. Typical Morrison, he picks a number and then runs with it throughout the whole book. 33 hours, and this asteroid's going to paste the Earth, and so they've got to do something to. They're hiring him, whether he wants to or not, to save the Earth. Well, they have a secret base on the dark side of the moon, so they're safe regardless of what happens. But they really like to not see the Earth get destroyed, so they're going to fly to the moon, and then they're going to do whatever mystic thing they need to do to stop this asteroid from hitting planet Earth. Right? That's the main structure of the story. Right. The elements that start to get interesting for me is like at the beginning that weird panel work, how it's this kind of.
We're sitting at that. Yeah. Are you talking about that?
Well, those different panels, but I noticed that those different weird panels, when you get to the final stage where you think he's waking up, and of course he wakes up in a dream, inside of a dream, maybe. You're not sure. But those are the lights of like the windows around his house. And then of course there's wonderful weird elements like this raining fish, which is a sign of the end times, right? But the fish lands stuck on top of this,
which makes the
Pisces symbol. Yeah. So there are little odd elements that I'm sure I can go back through at some point here, and I'll slowly work out as to make myself further confused, but.
I don't know. It sounds like that's what you wanted, though, on some level.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
I don't know. I liked it, but I guess I didn't. There wasn't the elements that made me just completely lose my
drool over it.
Yeah, I didn't lose my shit over like I did some of the other Morrison books and whatnot. But still, really cool. I mean, I'm digging. I'm excited for the next issue.
How long do you think this will last, really, though?
I don't know. I don't know what the long game is for this. That is a good question. I don't know what the long game is for it. How long can he maintain this kind of a whatever? I mean, I think as long as he's serious about it. I don't know.
I wouldn't mind him going back to DC and making a Flex Mentallo book, to be honest.
Yeah, I think he's done with that, though. I think he's done with that.
All right.
But there are definitely some visual elements in it that are really interesting, like the fish that are the Pisces. That kind of gets pointed out to us because the character notes that and points it out. But there's stuff.
Fish people.
Right, the anglerfish people. They actually have fish heads that look like the angler with that dangly thing with the little light on it. they're pretty freaky looking. But then there's weird panels like this little one of this, looks like a fish that's going to eat itself kind of thing, but it's also very, I don't know, that's very Freudian looking at the same time. And there's some, right? No, is that just me? Okay, that's just me.
Yeah, very Freudian. You're right.
Yeah. So there's some of those elements in it and stuff that's cool. I mean, it's a Morrison book. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. There's some It's definitely a Morrison book. I'm digging it. I thought it was pretty cool. I'm liking Annihilator better though.
Yeah,
even from issue one, Annihilator excited me more than this one is, but still cool. Still definitely going to be picking it up.
I don't have my Annihilator. I'm getting it Monday, but.
Well, all I'll say about it is it's more awesome. I mean, I did read it. It's fabulous. The art, it's cool. It ties together some more interesting stuff. The Max, no Max, some of the elements about him are just become even cooler in this issue. It's clearly coming to a header.
It has to.
Yeah, and I won't say anything else about it because I won't spoil anything for you. But this is just it's just freaking awesome. The art in it continues to be absolutely gorgeous. At this point, I don't know how hard it is to pick up the issues. This is issue 5. If they come out with a trade, I will probably double dip and buy this in trade. Also, I've been enjoying it that much.
It almost feels like with Image, they gave him structure with Nameless. This is what we want to do. With Annihilator, it feels like they just said, "Have fun."
Yeah,
and he did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
for sure. So you want to talk Hellboy?
Sure.
Hellboy, 1952.
Beautiful cover.
I knew Matt had picked it up, so I was like, okay, talk that.
So that cover is awesome. Yeah, with him standing in the water. There's that alligator down there in the skull and stuff. Because of course that all plays into what's actually in the book, which is excellent.
Yeah, you don't like the covers of the Silver Age, where it had nothing to do with the comic whatsoever. One thing I like about Magnolia, the Magnolia verse, is one of the critiques I hear is, oh, it's too dark and shady and all that. But what I think it does is oftentimes what is showing is super detailed looking, and it kind of fills in the gap for you when you look at it. Like, I'm trying to find the panel that really illustrated that for me. But
you mean the art style?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, how like people say it's too dark looking, like it's too shaded, and then like what you do see, I think, stands out more with that.
Right.
Like with the alligator on his arm.
Yeah. Where is that? Come on.
It's a little further than half. Yeah, it's 1 page past your staple.
Okay. Either way, you know what I'm. There we go.
Yeah.
You're right. Oh yeah, perfect example. I think that's perfect. I think it's great detail and all that. And is this a limited?
Yes.
It's 5 issues, I think.
Yeah. Which, I mean, it's running fairly slow. I mean, it's just enough of a kicker to keep to keep it bouncing on the road. It gives you that excitement of it. From the grenade explosion at the beginning to wired up monkeys to crocodile.
Did you feel it was cheap at all to have that villain basically that was scary as hell up to this point kind of dumbed down because now there's a bunch of them? And it's not this. It's Scooby-Doo'd it for me. If you really want me to throw it out there, it was like
having the wires in its head. But I thought it was actually just going to be a monkey with a mask. I didn't realize it's going to have all the probes in there. But I think
it was Old Man Monkey, and he would have got away with it too if it wasn't for Hellboy.
Yeah. When me and Reedham Steven originally talked about it last time, we were talking about, I think we were both disappointed that it was just a monkey. And I think even previously we knew it was going to be just a monkey. So we were hoping that there's something else, which they do show from the psychic female. And I do like that they really explore the BPRD officers, that you're getting definitely already a quicker sense of each one, on who they are, from the guy who throws the grenade to the psychic.
Oh, and I'm also liking, because in the Hellboy that I have read, he's, everyone's got respect for him. Everyone's kind of, well, not to get too granular, but for the most part, people are like, and in here they're kind of skeptical of him in here, and they're kind of like, okay, I guess.
He's the boy. He's the boy. He's not referred to as Hellboy. He's just boy. He's the boy. We don't let the boy have hand grenades. How do you get a hand grenade? Because that one guy who throws a grenade on him to pull him up, obviously he's got something going on. It's like, well, who gave the boy a hand grenade? It's not Hellboy. Who gave the boy? He has zero respect. He's the kid. And they aren't going to really give him anything to do. And they clearly think they blew him up. They think he's dead down there. As a whole.
You're bleeding like crazy when that guy.
When Anders gets to him. For me, longtime reader of the Magnolia universe, this style of story and whatnot, it's hitting about the typical beats that typically go on. Lots of times you'll get an exposure to a monster or critter or thing that's less than, and there's always lots of times a bigger element somewhere. Like in this case, we have these crazy, sci-fi monkeys with these tubes sticking out of their heads and like all these probes, and you think, oh, it's a mad scientist, because in the Hellboy universe they use both science and magic together. I mean, that's how Hellboy gets summoned. Is Rasputin has got a whole bunch of tubes and stuff, and he's using magic and science together to summon Hellboy up from hell in the first place. So there is lots of those kind of combined elements, and I love those combined elements and stuff. Yeah. And so you get this initial barrage of a car full of monkeys come barreling out to get him, and they gun him down like it's no big deal. But of course, there's this other evil element there and whatnot. Yeah. I've kind of been hard on Alex Maleev's artwork. I'm not a real fan of his. He does a lot of photorealism kind of thing. He darkens a lot of the elements in here, which makes it a little less so that way for me. But there's some other elements that he does that I think are really awesome. Like in the case where Hellboy's been blown up, he's down in like the sewers or whatever. That alligator god, because clearly those are deities of Brazil. I mean, that kind of native-looking boy, man, and the alligator, and they're talking amongst themselves. Well, as the alligator's dragging Hellboy's bloody body along to the cavern where there's the open, this wonderful panel. I love this panel because this is the opening to the cave, but the way the light shines down, it looks like a person. It's got a nimbus around its head. It's that kind of all holy moment, and then of course in that hole is our gods, these entities, whatever they are. Which this is my first that I've seen of them, so they're a new element. It's not like they're a reoccurring character or something. So I'm curious to see if we'll see them again. But I love them kind of talking about the alligator wants to eat him because Hellboy represents the end of times. He is the coming of the Antichrist. He is the end of times. And and that conversation with the the native man saying, yeah, but that's already written. This is now. He's going to do all this other stuff in between. So now's not the time to eat him. Kind of stuff. Cool stuff. There's cool elements in it. The next two issues, I can guarantee you, will probably be super exciting. They're going to be all kinds of blow them up and get them kind of thing. So.
Yeah. To build on what you're saying, Travis, I do like it because the very first issue, it's father and somebody talking about, should we even do this? There's prophecies. And then I think the guy who throws a grenade is tied into that. And then with the gods, and I think it's going to continue. And I like that it's a subtle note underneath that's starting to build itself in sound.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if this is successful, like in a year from now, 6 months from now, or whatever, we'll suddenly see a BPRD, Hellboy the BPRD 1953.
Yeah, I would love that.
And they'll tell us another story. Because they did that with the BPRD. They have like a BPRD 1947, 46. Right. That was really successful. So then they went on and did a 46 and a 47, years down the road. So it could possibly we see all that kind of.
All right. I'll have to look for
those elements. So, anything else you want to talk about?
Witches.
Awesome. Let's talk witches. This is issue number 4?
Yes, 4. Yep.
Should I be regretting anything yet?
I think it's good. I think it's the story is continuing along at a strong pace, and things are being wrapped up. I mean, you have the person who warned the guy about the witches you're introduced a lot more information from her, on what you do, how, what are these witches, that they're maybe an evolutionary step away from us, that they are maybe advanced beyond us, that people give them things, or they go to the witches, they pledge somebody, they're going to give somebody as a sacrifice. The witches give them, I don't know, wishes or powers or something, and then they slather the stuff on the victim, and then they go and get that victim from home, and then you're granted whatever you've requested from the witches.
Right.
So, I mean, you're starting to get this information.
So, right, the witches are potentially another race of humans that diverged from humans. They actually look different. They actually show some skulls in the yeah, I think Mike's showing one there.
And then they even come to these little photos of these disgusting witches and their little noises,
cool.
and yeah, I mean, they're just nasty.
So and they have their magic is actually like a science. It's like they've figured out how to create, salves and potions and that sort of thing. So you could, if you knew their existence, you could go, I'm dying of cancer, I want to be saved, and you pledge somebody.
Oh, okay.
Your kid or whatever. They eat flesh. They eat flesh. And children are their favorites because, yummy, it's fresh. Element, right? So we don't actually see that. This is one guy, this is one crazy guy telling us all this stuff. As he's having the father throw a rope over, he's making hangsman's noose, throws it over this beam. You think he's going to hang dad. Well, he freaking hangs himself by the time it's done because he's got no legs. They actually ate his legs when he was 7.
Oh.
And he managed to escape after they ate his legs. He's been walking around on 2, prosthetic legs. But after they get a hold, they do something to you. They like juice you up with something, and it makes you basically want to die. You want to die. And he decides he's going to hang himself because he'd rather do it by his own hand than have them drive him to it. So he ends up hanging himself by the end of it. So of course the guy's dead. You can't ask him any more questions. And he had the dad at gunpoint the whole time, so the dad really couldn't stop him until it was too late. There's all these crazy elements and whatnot. I have to say, this issue was really cool. By the end of it, excuse my language, but I was like, oh fuck. At the end of this thing, the very last lines of this issue brought up some elements that were hinted at in the last issue. You got to watch out because these things might happen. Well, one of those things, the worst of the things, has happened, and it's like, our main girl is lost in the underground somewhere where supposedly these things are. She's discovered a giant pile of clothes, children's clothes. I mean, when I say giant, I'm like, half the size of a house. Giant size. There have been a lot of dead children here.
So compared, because I have the first issue, I got the first issue.
I do.
Where would you place that in this? Would you say that's like a down note for this, and this has gotten better since?
Yes.
Okay.
This issue, to me personally, was a strong issue because it gives you enough of the elements to. There's still mystery because you're not sure exactly what's going on 100%. We had, like I said, we had this one, crazy guy who hangs himself, giving us a story, which you can either take for real or not take for real. There's some elements they show you to give you the impression that's real, but it doesn't give you enough information for it to not be terrifying, for it to not be oh shit, because all this stuff is happening and whatnot. I will say this. I hate the coloring element with a passion. This issue wasn't as distracting as last issue. If people remember last issue, I really tore the book apart because they just threw splats of colors, the splatter technique on frickin' everything with no rhyme or reason. They continue to do it in this issue. It just...
That's what I wanted to ask you, Travis. The part with the pile of clothes, when she gets to the bottom, she touches, and there's a TISS, T-S-S-S-D, is what I presume. Is that meaning that it's hot? I'm having trouble because it's showing like a strong orange, and I'm trying to figure out, because she even says, ow, help, like she's been hurt by something, And I'm trying to figure out if they're indicating it's a very hot surface under there.
Yeah, I wasn't sure on that either. I wasn't sure if she was just being a sissy and sprained her wrist or what the deal was there. But yeah, there's the scene. It's this bright orange down here. You're not sure if that's fire or if that's just, or it's hot or it's just him doing this splatter technique. Because you can see over all the pages, just random. Here's all these orange dots, just all over the frickin' place, and it's a random color. Whatever page it is, it's just random colors as far as those splotchy things. It's less in this one, or the colors are less contrasting. So it's not like you have a green background and bright red spots. They're more in the same tone with the page, but they're still just freaking all over the place. And
so you're not sure what's a part of the picture and what's not?
Well, what's the point?
What it's supposed to mean, yeah.
Okay.
What's the point? What's the point of all this, of the green watercolor splashes all over this? What's the point of that?
They found a technique and then they're beating it to death.
Right. I'm all for. So here's this page, right? These. It looks like craps on the lens of our eye while we're trying to look at what's going on, and I don't understand what that's supposed to do for us as the reader. Clearly those are added elements by the colorist. Why? Initially when people were I know some people were saying, oh, maybe it's the magic. It's representing the magic. Well, then that's the case. The magic is swirling around all the time.
Magic is everywhere.
Right. At some point, though, some piece of the story needs to explain to me why the hell that's there. Otherwise, it's just a freaking irritant. I feel like I need to rub my eyes all the time because I have shit in my eyes all the time.
So you're not sure if it's a part of it or not, or if it's just a style. That's what I'm getting at. If it's a stylistic thing or if it's a part of the story.
Right. Like I said, here we're seeing this scary thing, and they added all this splattering stuff. Does that mean it's covered in gore and some stuff is dripping off of this creepy thing?
It's covered in magic.
But it's magic. It's all magic.
And they did show it in issue 2 or 3 that this is how we do it in layers, but not why we do it.
Right. They explained how he's doing it. It was cool to see the artist as elements how to do it, but explain to me why we're doing it. It's just one of those kind of things that it is so there. It feels like something. It feels like it needs an explanation because otherwise, to me, it's distracting. It's distracting. But I like the story. I like this issue quite a bit, and like I said, the end of it, one of the elements that they kind of hinted at in, I don't know if it was issue 3 or 2, happens in this issue.
Okay.
Well, the crazy person comes to him and says, all these things will start happening to you once the pledge has been made or whatever. You'll start to forget stuff. You'll forget all these things, and that's what happens at the end of this. Is the wife, the main character, the girl in this, her name is Sailor. By the end of this, the husband's ranting about all this stuff. They need to go and save Sailor because she's lost in the woods somewhere. And by the end of it, she's like, "Oh, that's all nice and all well, dear. But who's this Sailor person you keep talking about?"
Oh, what?
And I'm like, and as a parent, I'm like, oh shit, this is like the worst, they could be, that the parents start forgetting that she even exists, because that's what part of the whole pledge is. Once you've made the pledge, to make it easier, you forget that you made
that you killed your kid.
So once they're gone, once you fed them to these creepy things, you just go on with your life. Well, who? Yeah. Oh, no. So for me it was like, oh, that moment was just like,
So it also shows why all the kids can disappear, because probably the whole village has forgotten these people.
Well, and there's some implications to that. There's the implications that there are lots of people that are in league with this crazy stuff.
Yeah.
It's sounding very Stephen King-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll definitely pick up the trade. I read the first issue and really liked it. But I just feel like I'm so far behind that I would be better to pick up the trade.
And what I've read so far, it would be great in trade too. Like I said, the biggest thing I don't like about it is that the coloring element. It still makes no sense to me, and I feel like
it's like lens flares in movies. Why?
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Star Trek.
Right. Not when it's all the time. If there's a moment for that, awesome, But when it's just nonstop, then it becomes, like I said, it's an irritant. It's an irritant. Yeah. So. Yeah. Any other books you want to talk about?
We could do East to West, Birthright, or Nailbiter.
Birthright. Let's talk Birthright.
All right.
I love this book. Oh, I love this
I'm
book.
glad. I'm glad because you were kind of.
Well, we'll start out with I wasn't even gonna get it because I hate the title. I saw the title, Birthright, whatever, and the first page has got this little kid running across. They're like, little kid and fantasy.
It looks like a Super Nintendo game to me.
It's
Anyway.
it's like blah, whatever. The art in this is incredible.
Yeah.
I refuse to say the artist's name because, of course, we all know how well I pronounce people's names. But it's incredible. It's super rich. It's detailed. I love all the line work that's in it, all the details and stuff. It's just freaking cool. Mikey, our main character, I love him as an adult. He is a freaking badass. I mean, I love how fast in this, lots of times in fight scenes, the elements, they build up to this thing, and it's a long, protracted, whatever. Hell no. He gets the weapon in hand, slams it down, and it's done.
Yeah.
It's done. It's like issues before this when he grabs all the cops that are coming at him, and he picks them up and smashes them into the lights above him and drops them like a sack of potatoes. He's just done. He's a badass. It's really cool. The end of this, oh my gosh.
See that's why this has been such a good comic. Is that every time you feel like you kind of got a grasp,
right.
It kind of pulls, and it's not in a way where you're like, this is bullshit. It feels within the story still.
Right.
But
right.
you're kind of like, oh my god, every
issue at the end of it, there's this end element that comes in and just puts another wrinkle in what was going on. You think you're right. You think you have it, okay, squared away. He's stomping through Earth. He's going to whack all these mages that are supposedly there so he can, open the doors open and do his thing. He kills the first one. He's moving forward. Dad's off, getting the FBI sidetracked so they can escape. You think, oh, that's just fine. This blue light suddenly shows up off in the forest, and bam, out pops the next wrinkle. And it's a big wrinkle. It's a big wrinkle. You're like, oh.
It's complicated.
I
I think where this book did itself a disservice is if you, like you said, if you looked at the cover or even the covers of this, you would think it's a completely different book than what you're getting.
And shame on me, you don't judge a book by its cover, right? But
yes, didn't you ever watch Reading Rainbow? Come on.
I know.
Butterfly in the sky. I can fly twice as high. Take a look. All right, I won't do the whole song.
Please don't.
I can go anywhere. All right.
Oh, thanks. Oh.
I can do anything. All right, let's see. But
I know there's a mute button over here somewhere. But yeah,
it's my favorite stuff he's doing at Image, and I'm liking all his Image stuff right now. I know people are iffy on Ghosted. I'm still enjoying it, but I think this is just there's nothing else like it out there right now. Really, I can't think of anything that, and I'm typically pretty good at that, being like, oh, this is just like that. I can't think of anything this is like.
And it has lots of fantasy elements in it, but it feels very grounded too.
Yeah.
For people who don't like really high fantasy type stuff, which I'm really particular when you start getting into like high fantasy sort of things, like the Tooth and Claw, for instance, that sort of stuff. I'm really, really persnickety when it comes to fantasy about that kind of stuff. But this, because we spend a certain amount of time, back with him, he tells these little stories about when I was, when I first went to this other world. This is the stuff that happened, and we're slowly starting to see the growth of Mikey, the little boy, into what we're going to see as Mikey, the warrior that we have in basically our universe proper. Storming around. So you get those elements, which are more the fantasy type elements, and you get this stuff where it's here, where basically you drop, Conan in with a little bit of modern day knowledge. Him running around with a baseball cap and a super tight T-shirt, just stuffing the crap out of stuff.
And I never feel like everything's going to be all right in this comic, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I don't feel like everything when this wraps up is going to just be like, oh, he's a boy again. All of a sudden, nothing. I get the feeling there's some permanent damage. That's
They kind of spoil some of the elements. I mean, he's clearly not here on the mission that he's telling everybody he's on the mission. He is. Well, I mean, he's doing some of the stuff, but his alternative motives for doing that are completely different. So that's interesting, and some of that got leaked in this issue to some of the other people, so I'll be curious to see where those people deal with it. Of course, the person who gets to see that is the person with the least amount of power. His brother gets to kind of get a glimpse of what Mikey might really be about.
Yeah.
And he's he's a kid. He's a teenager. He has the least amount of power to actually act on anything that he might have saw, and is probably be the most confused by it. So I love some of like in some of the earlier issues, like when they're in the truck stop and he's staring at he's kind of zoning out. He's having this moment where he's having a flashback. He's kind of having a PSD, kind of a thing. Yeah. And the clerk working the place, talks to the dad because clearly he's a war veteran, right? Yeah. Which he is. I mean, he is technically. So
just not the warrior thinking.
Right. That was a cool element to kind of put in there. My son went through this too. It's hard. Thinking that he's this. That he's this. Iraqi war vet or something. Clearly he's not, but he looks it though. Big, huge, burly guy with the beard and whatnot. I mean, yeah, it's way more exciting than I ever thought it was going to be. And every issue, I'm excited to read it from front to back. It's very fun. I know this is another one that he's writing, Nailbiter. Ghosted didn't come out this week. I know I'm liking this because of me. Where Birthright, I would tell anyone to check that out. Mm-hmm. Anyone to check that out because it's so different, it's so unique, and it's filling a void that I think has been in comics when it comes to fantasy and all that we need to be there. Mm-hmm. But yeah, definitely go check it out if you haven't, or at least get the trades. You won't regret it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What you got there, Mike?
Wolf Moon. Are you still picking up that one?
Yeah. I love this cover. This cover by Thompson. That's one of the things interesting about this book is every cover has a guest artist on it.
All right.
And I love this one. I really like that. I like the stylized heart that it's hanging on to, and the tongue hung out, and this skeleton back here that's mimicking the wolves.
Yeah, because it made me kind of think of the trapped person that's in the werewolf.
Right.
Which, I mean, in this one we see, I mean, the guy at the strip joint, he's fairly out of it, and he's just thinking he can't sleep, it's bad dreams. And the guy who's hunting him is like, this guy has to know that he's a werewolf eating people at night. He's still got to have the taste and the fingers in his mouth.
Yeah, and his job is he is mall security. Yeah. And it's like it's the peak of the Christmas shopping season, and the guy is going to work, even though he keeps telling himself he's having bad dreams. I'm having bad dreams. It's just bad dreams. And so he's going to work, knowing that in his bad dreams he's actually eating people. I mean, he's tearing them apart limb for limb, literally consuming them. And yeah, he's at this crowded mall, and
is Bunn writing that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Why didn't I pick that up? All right.
Because it seems like a werewolf book at first, but
I love werewolves.
All right. And the thing is when I read it, I thought it was just going to be a werewolf book. It is. He's got a very good backstory on why these people are werewolves, and because it's a shape-shifting spirit basically that's invading all these different people's bodies. So you're the werewolf for 4 or 5 days while there's a full moon, and then it disappears, and you're never the werewolf again. But you live with the thought, I ate people for
you recall it all?
Yeah, because
that's messed up.
Yep. And so that's the thing is these people, like this guy is somewhat rationalizing it like it's bad dreams. But other people are like, no, I'm killing myself because I know what I did.
Right.
And because like even when he's in the mall, he's taking like an hour break on a 15 minutes, and his boss comes up to him and is like, you need to get back to work. First thing he does is just rips his boss's bottom jaw off. And I mean, I was not expecting that.
Yeah, well, because he's not a werewolf yet. He's starting to bleed from the ears. His skin's getting all cracky and gross. And he just turns around and just literally swats the guy, and it rips his lower jaw off. They pull. Yeah, well, he's like I said, he's starting to pus out here and stuff. He's starting to crack up. He's starting to drool.
Oh.
Yeah, he's sweating. He's starting to sweat blood. He's starting to freak out a little bit. And then he hits him, spins around.
Yeah.
That bites his jaw off. That's his boss's jaw in his mouth. Then he grabs his body.
For that.
Then he grabs his body and slams him all over the room, and then he completely loses it and goes completely feral werewolf. They pull no punches in this book as far as gore goes.
No.
They go to town.
Because even when it comes to the second hunter, that's what I was surprised by, that this second hunter who knows what's going on. The first hunter is somebody who was a werewolf and is trying to just stop the spirit. And he's...
Oh, that's
and he's the main character.
He's the main character. He's marginally sympathetic. It's like, I know I need to kill the wolf, but he keeps thinking that there's this dude inside there, and they don't deserve whatever that's got coming to him. But he also knows if he can silver bullet the wolf, he can kill it and then kill the spirit thing that's whatever this is that's making the werewolves too.
Does he know this for a fact?
No.
Not 100%. No.
Mm-hmm.
But so he's not as committed as suddenly this badass second guy who he's been kidnapping people who have been turned into the werewolf and aren't werewolves anymore, and he's dissecting them. Shows up, and they're in this shopping mall, and the second hunter's there. He's got like a high-powered sniper rifle, and he's trying to shoot the werewolf, and he doesn't care who else he shoots in the meantime. So he's blowing up he's killing as many people as the werewolf is by shooting them in the head, trying to hit the werewolf as the werewolf's running through the wall, just shredding people. So it's total chaos.
It sounds like good bun writing. So
yeah, it's gotten better. The first issue, I was like, I wasn't sure exactly where we're going to go with it, but it's been kind of cool since then.
Yeah, and it seems to be getting into a full run right.
Yeah.
Why did I pick that up?
Because there's too many books, that's why.
Yeah, I'll throw that out there as the excuse. No, because I pick up World's End. I can drop that. That book stinks.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Do you want to talk East to West for a few minutes?
Love it.
Issue 17.
Ugh. I understand that for some people it might be a little heavy and but it just does something for me that it keeps the scope of the world big while keeping the characters small and in a package that you can still kind of digest. Better than anything I'm reading right now. And
well, it does such a great job of informing you of like the political elements, the world elements, without slowing the story down. Something is always actually happening. You don't get these moments where some indie books, you get these moments where for them to kind of give you a sense of where these people are at or whatever, the book slows down, and that just does not happen in this book.
Just look at that.
Yeah.
Just gorgeous. Oh. And this is another one that
Babylon and Balloon are just the most awesome thing ever. Oh.
I was thinking, it's not a pure Western, I'm not going to touch it. And then you're like, no, you better. And of course, it was great, so I'll probably... Anyway.
Yeah, the first couple issues of this book, when the run first started, it started out like a Hickman book, and you're thinking, it's going to be way too long for the payoff. And then the payoff came a lot faster than this than it does in like his Avengers and stuff like that, in my opinion. And now that we're into it every issue for the last, 10 issues.
Even that guide thing that came out, I wasn't mad about that. Because it just came in my poll, and normally I'd be like, oh, no, this isn't... But it helped. It had a story in it, too. And, yeah, I don't know. I'm probably going to reread the whole thing when it's all said and done and enjoy it all the more. And the art is just amazing in it. I mean...
That whole sequence at the end, too, where Death, has a moment with his wife again, and clearly it's the last time. I mean, they say at the end of it, it's the last time they're going to have, that they're going to embrace like that again. Is interesting,
And the door and.
Yeah, we're doing a horrible job of talking about this book, by the way. It's like, what the hell is this all about?
Door and.
Yeah, I know.
It's called I'm Gushing. Let me gush.
Yeah, it was pretty weird. I read quite a bit of it when IDW stuff digitally. So.
Yeah, but the elements about it that the cool thing is got this character who is the son of Death. He goes by the name of Babylon. He's supposed to be. Everybody believes he's the end of the world.
And he is.
Well, he will be more than likely. Yeah. He is like super genius, super smart, all that stuff. And he's attached that picture that CDC showed there. That's him. He's attached to this floating sphere, which is like a supercomputer, and it's his visuals. It actually shows him what the world looks like. And for whatever reason, we don't know why. That's the really interesting thing is, it's showing him the world as being a total and utter hellhole.
Yeah.
And now, granted, there are places in the world where it is, but when he escapes the prison that he's been this whole time, the balloon, and it calls itself balloon, which is funny because I mean it floats around, it hangs around like a balloon because it's tied to this tether and floats around like a balloon. And he can actually fly with it. It'll actually fly up in the air and drag him along like a balloon. They're walking across this field. The field is, look to Babylon. The field is totally scorched. It is scorched earth, and the balloon is telling him, yeah, see what humanity has done to the world? See how awful this is? It's so horrible. And he's like, yeah, you know, I got to fix this. I got to do something to fix this. In reality, he is walking through a beautiful,
picturesque,
Kansas sunflower field of sunflowers. It is beautiful beyond beautiful. Right now, he's walking through this really beautiful woods across this river. The river is a sea of skulls, is what the kid is seeing, as a sea of skulls and rivers of blood. The forest is haunted and nasty looking as all it could be. And the balloon keeps telling him, see, this stuff, we have to fix this stuff. And in reality, it's a gorgeous, beautiful, pure spring and a beautiful forest. I mean, so it's whoever programmed this balloon
which we don't know.
We don't know because it's stolen tech from this Indian nation. I don't know. It's complicated, but it's so cool. And it's just like you see that you know the kid could do such great because he supposedly could do great things, but he's going to ultimately end up doing these horrible sins because this computer is lying to him. It's just.
And what I like is they make it fully aware that he's fully capable of doing whatever he wants.
Yeah, because he's like,
there's a character. I'm not trying to spoil, but that setting up this character is a badass. No one whenever these characters show up, you're like, oh, this character the balloon handles it without any problem with. I mean, we're doing a terrible job. You're right.
Yeah. But, the four horsemen of the apocalypse, basically, -1, death. Death doesn't hang with the rest of the four horsemen. The other four horsemen come to kill the son of death, and the son of death basically kicks their asses like they were a joke. And these guys have been, obviously for millennium, have been devastating whatever they want to. Anytime they show up, they destroy the world. So
it's like No Country for Old Men when they show up. It's that dude with the big boy. Like whenever they show up, everyone's fucked. Oh, sorry. Bad language. Everyone's messed.
Yeah.
And he handles them nice. So
and they're still children, aren't they?
Yeah, they're kids. They're kids. They're newly raised. They're newly raised to their children. And of course, they're pissed at Death because Death didn't lay down when the rest of them did. Death decided to go and have a life
because he's in love with. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a cool book. Get it in trade.
It reads well in trade, I'm sure, but. Yeah. That's all the ones I've read up to this point.
Oh.
So,
anybody got any other independent books you want to talk about? I've got a whole bunch more, but I'm not going to talk about them. Oh, you got Cluster. Awesome. I want to hear about it.
Yeah. All right. From everything I've heard, you guys talk about Planet or whatever.
This Boom Studio, right?
Yes, correct. Yeah, Boom. Bryce Brisson, in Cosero, and Michael Garland. Seems like it is very cutter, very basic idea. A politician's daughter crashes a building immediately, and they all get. She gets put in jail, and then they all decide on this new thing, which is I'm trying to remember what the name of it is. Basically, they're going to go to another planet. Prisoners will be taken, both male and female, put on this planet that they're trying to harvest and make all these giant towers. And they're going to be the soldiers. And there is an alien race or just destroy the towers. And so very quickly, they get sent out as fodder, and they fight the aliens. And meanwhile, there's some minor political intrigue with characters on, interacting with each other, the prison idea of you getting clicks and all that kind of stuff. And even with the warden, when he gets in a fight with others, and he not coming to think that that's what this is. but I mean, it seems to be what this is. The idea, though, also is as the soldiers go out, they have a little device in their chest called a punch. It's a 24-hour clock, so you go and do whatever, but within 24 hours you must be back in base, get the first tower, the first fight, you're playing, and it's left, so he's going to come and get it. Oh, there you go. The tower is destroyed.
I don't know, Mike. Is it just me that you're breaking up an awful lot? I don't know if it's just from my end or if it's from everybody else's end too.
Yeah, it's breaking up on my end too.
Okay.
I got him.
Good. I'm glad you heard it. I wanted to.
Yeah. I felt you've already seen.
And how he froze for me, but
Yeah, I mean,
Now I've got nothing. Dang it. I want to hear about that book. So
I know.
let me just do this.
Oh.
you didn't like it. Okay.
Oh.
Or
Eh.
Eh.
this is so weird.
Oh. Oh. Okay.
I picked up bits and pieces of it, and it sounded kind of interesting.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say it had interesting elements to it. I hummed and hawed about whether or not I was gonna order it when I was doing my order, and then decided not to. So I was curious if somebody else picked it up so I could hear what it was, what Ultima was like. But it was huh? Little rats.
He's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't have any other books that I feel like I need to talk about. I got a bunch more, but I don't need to.
Well,
be,
did you?
be the only one talking here?
How's Stray Bullets? Is that
Awesome?
okay?
But this is a new, it's Stray Bullets, so it says, Sunshine and Roses, issue number 1. Technically, it's issue number 50 in reality. Yeah. So it's the start of a new chapter. Each chapter's just got a different thing to it. It really is part of the same story, though. It's got some of the same characters that were in the first bit of this. It's got characters that were in it from way back in the day when the book first came out. You could pick this up and start reading it from here and get a sense of what's going on. You'd have to kind of learn some of the characters. Those of us who've read it, from the beginning already have some experiences with these, but these are new plot elements within those characters and stuff. You don't have to know their long history to be able to read this and get it. It is kind of an acquired taste, as I always say. It's all black and white story. You get 28 pages for your money. It's full of extreme violence and strangeness, as far as, well, strangeness isn't the right word. It's like you take one or two good people and you introduce them into incredibly bad elements that could happen in real life. Normally these books are set in the 80s at some point. This storyline right here is actually 79. Is when this takes place. So it has references from 1979. If you're familiar with that, with that time, there'll be things in here you'll go, oh yeah, because some of the stories are written when Star Wars comes out, so there'll always be people walking around talking about Star Wars, and that sort of thing. So those elements are in the background. They aren't the main part of the story, but there's elements to continue to remind you what decade or what era or what year.
Is it over the top though? Like where it's like, oh god.
No. It wouldn't be any more over the top than if
Deadly Class.
If me or you, right, or me or you are someplace like at McDonald's and we're talking about comic books, and then the main element of the story is going on.
Okay.
It's not ridiculous. It's not over the top anyway. It just may happen to be an element that's there.
Okay.
They're going to the movies. the movie they happen to be coming out of is Star Wars or whatever. It's not like it doesn't screw anything up. It just adds an element to help remind you of the era that you're in at the time of it. But there's always crazy violence in it. You know, either there's drug smugglers or killers or gangs, or there's always some element like that somebody gets themselves tied into. You know, and you'll go from elements of attempting to have a love life to suddenly people are getting their heads shot off, kind of a thing. It has a Pulp Fiction element to it in that sense. You know, where you go from it being you know talking about wanting to pick up chicks, and then suddenly you know there's a drive-by kind of a thing go on or whatever.
So the dialogue has to sell the book to a degree, you would say.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It definitely does. The artwork I think is great. I mean, the storytelling elements, simply black and white, but it works really well, being as simple as what it is. But I love the book. I love most of David Lampham stuff that he does himself, but he definitely has his style, and it definitely always has those kind of elements. If it's not your thing, if you don't like reading something that seems like the real world, and then these horribly graphic things happen in it, it's not the book for you. Otherwise, it's cool. I mean, there are plenty of us that are digging it. But, Saga came out. It was awesome. I read it. It clearly continues to be Saga. If you like Saga, it's cool. Basically the start of a new arc. We got left on a cliffhanger last time. There's 3 bits and pieces of story going on here. One of Hazel and her mom and grandmother having to deal with one of the TV head guys. And there's a story element with Marco and another TV head person. They're in conflict, but they're having to try and work together. And then there's another element of Sophie and Mandolin, Marco's old girlfriend / fiance, are with another group of people doing their own story too, and all those elements are cool. It's a really enjoyable book. I mean, we're gonna get 5 or 6 issues, and then they're gonna be gone for forever again. I mean, that's how Saga works.
Yeah.
But I love it when we get those. So yeah, it's got all the elements that are always cool about the book are in it. I don't want to go into any too great details because I know some people are just now getting on reading Saga and whatnot.
Yeah.
So
I'm reading it in trade. So
yeah.
no, nothing wrong with that. Get on when you can. It's awesome.
I'm glad I had to read it for school because I don't think I would have ever consciously picked it up unless somebody gave it to me.
Right.
But I thoroughly enjoyed it, much more than I thought I would. So.
I'm super jealous that somebody has to read that book for schoolwork. That's all I got to say.
You want to see my book this week was Bone that I had to read.
Oh yeah, good stuff.
And then my book for next week is it's Kingdom Come.
Oh wow.
Oh.
So
that's a cool class, whatever class that is.
Yeah, writing for comics.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they're pulling out the big guns. That's a great mix of different styles and approaches to dealing in comics and whatnot.
I haven't hated anything that I've read yet, but we'll see when it gets to All-Star Superman, because apparently people have told me that will turn me into a fan of Superman.
No.
Yeah.
I think you will like All-Star Superman.
It's good.
It is an excellent story that happens to be about Superman.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what it is for me. I could care less about Superman also. I don't hate him, but I could care less. I just don't care.
Exactly.
So that is a good story.
Okay.
That is just good comic books. So
cool. Awesome.
From that sense. But no, you won't come out the other side of it thinking that you need a Superman tattoo and things like that.
Never be that person. I don't know. I just don't relate to him.
Disagree.
So, yeah. But you're gonna disagree? Okay.
As I was like, if Steven was here right now, he'd be. Anyway.
Yeah, I know.
But speaking of independent comics, The Walking Dead does come back tomorrow.
Yay! I have my Carol shirt already.
And I'm looking forward to that. It's been good. I think they broke the show perfectly on the last break where you weren't feeling like, oh, I have to wait.
Yeah.
It was perfectly done. Are you still watching that at all, Travis, or do you completely...
No, I quit watching it. What season had the mayor and
The governor?
the governor and the tank full of heads and whatnot? That season,
Season
I
3.
ended with season 3. I ended in season 3.
Okay.
I don't even know if I finished watching that season.
I could see why that had great stuff in it, but it did drag a little bit here and there.
Yeah. They were at the prison forever.
And it was one of those things. It wasn't any one thing in particular. It was the show itself. It was when it was on. It was my time constraints to watch it.
Yeah.
I live in a household where my kids think zombies are really cool. I don't think the after effects of them watching shows with zombies is really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, that, and it was also kind of those things. I was just getting fatigued on feeling like I needed to hit myself in the head a whole lot after I was done watching it, or hit them in the head a whole lot after I was done.
Yeah.
Where you just have this. I mean, I like to scream at my TV as much as the next person, but after a while, like, it got fatiguing. It was like, oh, I just don't.
Well, and Rick got real annoying, and that, I mean,
Yeah.
Rick was like Farmer Rick, and he didn't really want to lead or do anything. I was like, okay, can we Rick can go now.
And I was also just having problems with. I mean, I know humans can be really awful to each other, and I get that that's really what The Walking Dead about. The Walking Dead is less about the zombies
Right.
than it is about the people and what they do to each other.
Yeah.
And there are times when I just kind of want to get a really big. Of course, I want to be as horrible as them, right? Get a really big machine gun and just shoot them all because they're all just so awful.
Yeah.
Or just dumb. It's like, how can you make some of the choices you're making? It's just like, are you in?
Yeah.
So I keep thinking that maybe I'll watch it. I'll just start watching it again this season.
This season has been amazing.
It's been really good.
The opener was so good because you finally get to see Carol come kind of full circle. I watch it mainly, not gonna lie, for Carol this is a character that has had so many layers, and in the comics
And
it was
grown.
it was kind of dealt a disservice, I feel, and so for the fact they were gonna kill her in season 3. And
clearly the comics and the show are two completely different monsters now.
Right,
which
and
I
that's why
think is great.
Yeah, and I love that because it's like I started watching the show first, then I got into the comics.
Yeah.
And so I can separate the two, whereas people who are super critical of the show can't. But I love it because as somebody who's read some of the comics, I don't want to know what's going to happen. And Kirkman, the fact that he writes both, does such a brilliant job of giving us surprises and elements. But Carol is just one of those characters where somebody wrote a review. And it made me so happy and so proud because they were like, this is a character that is having to deal with situations that normally male action heroes have to deal with. Her gender is not an issue, and I love that. And Melissa McBride, they called her in season 3, and she was supposed to die. And she, fought for her character, and she was like, she still has so much more to go. And because love her, and she's such a freaking amazing actress. They were like, yeah, we like you, we're going to keep you on the show. So she essentially saved her own ass, and then now Carol has just grown into this amazing character who I think is even more interesting than Michonne now.
Well, and that's cool because her character at the beginning of the show, she's just a walking victim. I mean, clearly all she is.
Melissa McBride herself has said I thought I was going to be gone by the first episode, but because season 2, when her daughter goes missing, and then she and Daryl really kind of grow together. Here's how I feel. I feel like Daryl is his arc is kind of done in a way because he's not his brother anymore, and Carol has definitely helped him. So I think the only way that Daryl can grow more is just if he just keeps sticking with Carol, whereas I think Carol still has a lot more to go.
Yeah.
So I can see them actually killing Daryl off before they kill Carol. I don't know how I feel about that.
I was just saying.
I think I'll be okay with it because as long as Melissa McBride is on that show, I will continue to watch it because she's so captivating and so compelling, and I feel like she could even be a better leader than Rick. So I hope there's some tension between her, Rick, and Daryl this season because they've never really talked about the fact that Rick essentially threw her out of the prison, and Daryl was super pissed when he came back and found. And so that conversation has never really been resolved. And even in the last issue, you know, when Carol and Beth are in the hospital, and Rick's like, "We're gonna go," and they're like guns blazing. Like you could see Daryl being like, he was like, "No, like we have to like think about this," and you see Rick. And his eye starts twitching, like, but you've always been like my go-to, like my yes man.
Yeah.
So I think I hope there's some conflict because they've been so like Batman and Robin for a while that I want them to just clash, and I want there to be that conflict because I think there needs to be. I think it's been too like buddy with the group all broken up, and now they're back together. So I think there needs to be some tension within the group. To make that show interesting, and I think that that's essentially what's going to happen in the back half, which I'm super excited about.
What I've liked is that where they've differed from the comic, it's been enough where you're like, okay, even if I've read the comic, like I want to know how they're going to handle the Negan character when he comes in, because that guy is terrifying. Everyone's like, oh, this governor guy, and if you've read it, you're like, oh, you haven't seen anything yet. When this guy comes around, he is horrible.
Yeah.
Like,
Kirkman said he goes, we're trying to delicately do it because every other word out of that character's mouth is F.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, we're trying to figure out how to fit him in. But clearly it's coming up because, you know, you've seen in the promos, like I think they're at the safe zone now.
Yeah.
Community. So it's definitely, I think they're going to be at the gated community for a while. You know, and then maybe Negan will come in next season. I don't think he'll come in this season, though.
No.
And I don't even think he'll probably come in the first half of next season. Probably the back half, I would say, to finish out, you know. Because, I mean, it's interesting because the comic books are still going. So I think the show, you know, I mean, it has such a fan base that I think we keep going for as long as the comics keep going, hopefully.
And then
it's like the most watched TV show, isn't it now? I mean,
it is, and it's the one show that the awards like Melissa McBride should have every Emmy or every award ever because she's just so good in it. But it's a show that award shows don't really know what to do with genre shows. They don't really know what category to put them in.
Sure.
Well, on top of that, it's got the comic book curse, where it doesn't matter how good or how well the writing is.
Yeah.
If it's
Source
related
material.
Yeah.
Exactly. Sons of Anarchy was kind of the same way, except for Katie Sagal got a Golden Globe for that. So that was, I was like, hey, you know, I mean, I was hoping they would get some noms for Golden Globes, but nothing.
Well, I guess that also just goes to show if it's the most watched show and it's not getting any awards, what does that say about the award shows?
Oh, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I don't watch anything on. Like on ABC or NBC, but I kind of watch Gotham sometimes, but because after watching shows like Walking Dead and Breaking Bad and Orange is the New Black, like you can't go back to those shows and take them seriously because the writing is so subpar on, you know, shows on AMC or FX or
Better Call Saul too.
Better Call Saul is on tomorrow. Tomorrow, Monday. Yeah.
Is that 2 episodes or is it the same episode twice?
I think it's 2 episodes. I'm not positive, but.
Well, because I saw your tweet earlier about the Fly episode. I'm like, is that where you are? Have you watched past that?
That's where I'm at. I just watched that show.
Okay, you're in for a treat. You're right in the heart of that show.
Yeah, I know. Of course, me dumb. You know, I didn't get on Breaking Bad while it was actually happening, and you know,
I'm rewatching it.
I would love to binge watch it, but I don't have any one amount of time to watch it. I can't watch it and read comic books at the same time.
No.
Because it's too much goes on for me to. But yeah, that's pretty incredible. I plan on watching.
And then I don't know when Preacher comes out, but Preacher will be on AMC as well.
One of my all-time favorite comic books. That's why I'm going to read Garth's stuff when he does it for DC. And
I'm really apprehensive about that to see exactly.
Well, if you've read Preacher, how are they going to handle that even for cable?
I don't know.
Well, but
That's
they
what
say the same thing about Walking Dead. Like every year,
No,
like
Walking Dead does not tread even close to the same kind of ground that Preacher does. I mean,
I've not
Walking
read
Dead,
Preacher yet, so I don't know.
Walking Dead is it's grim, it's gritty, it's and clearly the comic is anybody goes, anybody can be killed, mauled, whatever. Also, Preacher deals with religion, and the second you really go at religion, that's a whole different can of worms, right? I mean, to me,
That's true.
and they freaking pull no punches in some of what they do. So that's why I'm really curious to see how they're going to address that. And it doesn't. And for me, it doesn't matter whether it's cable. It doesn't matter whether they were to do it on HBO, Showtime. Yeah. I just think it's still a enough of a hot button topic that I don't know. They even in the like in the right. It's still one of those things that's questionably whether or not, like in the case of America, it's maybe we're less organized religion based. It's still not something you step into. So.
Yeah, that's true. And I've heard that Seth Rogen is a part of it.
What?
Yeah, I think that's a thing. I want to say he's like a producer on it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
If he's the Preacher, I don't know.
I think he's one of the. He's a producer on it. But I don't know. But I mean, politics is a pretty hot topic issue too, and the fact that a show like The Newsroom was on HBO. So I don't know. You're right. I mean, I'm interested to read. I have the first trade, and I haven't read it yet. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm very excited.
Get on that for sure.
Yeah, I will, and then it'll be interesting to see. I'm trying to time it. Like that's why I want to know when the show is set to air, because then I can like time reading it, because I want it to be fresh in my head and then be able to compare the two. So I don't know, but yeah, it'll be. I don't know. I don't know how that'll go, because you're right. I mean, there's been some religious stuff this season on Walking Dead as well, but definitely nothing like what it seems like Preacher is. So.
Preacher does not hold anything back, and if you are at all offended religiously, don't read it.
Yeah. It definitely there's definitely subject matter in there that would be considered blasphemous. That's without doubt. So and that's not even from the radical conservative. I mean, that's from a more temperate element would consider it blasphemous in places. So,
but it's so good.
It is. It's good. It's good. It's good commentary. It's good commentary on some stuff. So I'm excited to see it. I just am also apprehensive as to exactly how they're gonna. And I'll be fascinated to see what the greater audience's opinion is of it when it comes out, because I think most people aren't going to have a clue what it is.
Right. Yeah. That's
because you can't, because Walking Dead is really easy. You can simply say it's a show about zombies, and you already have some idea what's going on. Maybe that's not what it really is, but that's a pretty easy thing to grasp. It's people trying to survive a zombie apocalypse. I don't know what the tagline is for Preacher.
Yeah.
So
that'll be interesting.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think we're done broadcasting. Thank you all for coming along. I apologize. I was incredibly horrible at looking at comments this time around. Shame on me. Got caught up in the talking. I know lots of people were talking in the comments about different things. So I apologize for sucking at paying attention to that stuff. And it's late enough now that I don't want to go back through and try and read them all and comment on all of them, because I'm not sure if you're all here anymore even. So thank you, all of you who came to watch. Thank you guys for coming on and talking comics. Love it as always. And hopefully we'll be back next week to talk more comics. Anybody got any parting words they want to leave with?
Bye.
Watch Walking Dead tomorrow.
Yeah, and if you're not caught up, right, there's a marathon all day long, right? So.
Well, on top of that, if you're not able to watch it on time, stay off Twitter.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Clearly if you're on the West Coast, like some of us are, just turn your computer off when it gets to be about 6 o'clock, and don't turn it back on until you can watch it. So.
Yeah.
At any rate, have a great night, everybody, and we'll hopefully see you next week.